Chapter 238. Heaven and Earth Sorrow. Since Longao got the mysterious dragon seal and left the Red Fire town, this was the first time he created his own martial arts technique. Only with powerful martial arts techniques could a martial artist exert the greatest power, and the self-created martial arts technique was the most suitable martial arts technique for himself. But creating one's own martial arts technique was easier said than done. When Longao entered the corpse mountain this time, he accidentally saw the wonders of heaven and earth and immediately fell into an epiphany. He created his own martial arts technique with the help of the momentum of heaven and earth, which was the so-called heaven and earth sorrow. The meaning of heaven and earth sorrow was very simple. Once the martial arts technique was used, heaven and earth would be in a tragedy. But Longao was still a little arrogant. Even if he created his own martial arts technique, it was impossible to compete with heaven and earth. So when he collided with the black fog, he spat out blood and flew out directly. Without continuing to compete with heaven and earth, Longao turned and left quickly. In the blink of an eye, he had disappeared without a trace. Somewhere in the corpse mountain, sitting on a huge stone, Longao gasped for breath and endured the pain in his body. Not only was he not unhappy, but he was pleasantly surprised. Until now, Longao had not reacted, because he never thought that he could create his own martial arts technique under such circumstances. A martial arts technique that belonged to him and was really suitable for him. Of course, Longao had full confidence in creating his own martial arts technique. This time, he entered an epiphany with the help of the momentum of heaven and earth and created his own martial arts technique, heaven and earth sorrow. He could even kill a martial artist at the peak of the Earth Emperor realm. As for whether it could fight against a Tao ancestor, Longao did not know at all without facing it. Heaven and earth sorrow. Longao smiled helplessly. He did not know why he had such a name, heaven and earth sorrow. Did it mean that once he used his martial arts technique, heaven and earth would be in a tragedy? If others knew, they would definitely say that he was arrogant. After resting for a while, Longao did not immediately continue his journey. Instead, he sat on the ground and began to cultivate. Fortunately, heaven and earth sorrow had integrated most of the momentum of heaven and earth. Otherwise, he would have been swallowed by heaven and earth. Now he felt scared thinking about it. 6 hours later, Longao knew very well that not every spirit beast on the corpse mountain was at the earthly emperor realm. It was just that he was lucky enough to encounter more than a dozen ice-fire two-headed pythons at the earthly emperor realm. In the following days, Longao did not encounter any more powerful spirit beasts. It took him a full 5 days to find a way out and leave the mountain of corpses. As soon as he stepped out of the mountain of corpses, Longao saw Dugu Bai and Xia Jun anxiously waiting for him. Seeing that the two of them were fine, Longao breathed a sigh of relief. Before Longao could say anything, Dugu Bai asked worriedly, "Brother Long, are you all right?" "I'm fine. It's good that everyone is fine. Brother Long, I just got the news that someone had found another way to the Tianzhou and Crimson Continent. We just didn't know about it. Fortunately, we are all fine this time. Otherwise, we would have been wronged." Hearing Dugu Bai's words, Longao was also very depressed. If that was the case, then the three of them would indeed be in a tragic situation. But no matter what, the three of them were safe, which was a blessing in disguise. "All right, we don't have much time left. Brother Dugu, Brother Long, let's go quickly." Dugu Bai and Longao nodded. The three of them did not hesitate and headed towards the Crimson Continent. Longao did not mention a word about what happened at the Corpse Mountain, as if it had never happened. The Crimson Continent, one of the 9 continents, was much stronger than the Tianzhou. The situation between the Crimson Continent and the Tianzhou was different. The Tianzhou was dominated by the 6 major sects, while the Crimson Continent was dominated by the 9 major clans. The 9 major clans of the Crimson Continent were Wang Clan, Hao Clan, Duanmu Clan, Long Clan, Miao Clan, Wei Clan, Zhou Clan, Fong Clan, and Yin Clan. The 9 great families were in the same situation as the 6 great sects of the Tianzhou. Normally, they would fight openly and covertly, wanting to eliminate each other. But before the 9 continents battle of the 9 continents, The 9 great families had chosen to temporarily put aside their grievances and unite against the outside world. The 9 continents battle of the 9 continents was very important to the 9 continents. Furthermore, the 9 people on the ranking list all wanted to test their strength and compete for a place among the younger generation of the Tianwu continent. This year's 9 continents battle of the 9 continents would be held in the Crimson Continent. After a discussion among the 9 great families, the 9 continents battle of the 9 continents would be held in the Crimson Sky World. The Crimson Sky World was known as the ancient battlefield. According to legend, more than 1,000 years ago, before the 9 continents of the Tianwu continent had been separated, all the forces were in a chaotic battle. Countless experts had fallen. The battlefield of experts was known as the ancient battlefield, and the Crimson Sky World was one of them. It was because of this that the disciples of the other 8 continents did not need to go anywhere after entering the Crimson Continent. They could just go to the Crimson Sky World and wait. The Tianwu continent was divided into 9 continents: the Sky Continent, Earth Continent, Sun Continent, Moon Continent, Sunset Continent, Cloud Continent, Crimson Continent, Illusion Continent, and Black Forest Continent. Every 10 years, the 9 continents would hold the 9 continents battle of the 9 continents. Those who participated in the battle had to be ranked on the ranking list of each continent. There were 9 ranking lists in the 9 continents, and each ranking list had 100 people. In this way, there were 900 people in the 9 ranking lists of the 9 continents. However, when all the people on the ranking lists of the 9 continents gathered, there were only about 700 people who could participate in the 9 continents battle of the 9 continents. The remaining 200 people did not appear. According to the agreement of the 9 continents, anyone who did not participate in the 9 continents battle of the 9 continents would be unconditionally removed from the ranking list. In other words, once a person on the ranking list did not participate in the 9 continents battle of the 9 continents, they would automatically be removed from the ranking list later, and others would start to chase after them. Outside the Crimson Sky World, the 9 continents were divided into 9 plates, and no one would invade another. Perhaps within each continent, there was no room for conflict. But now, everyone remembered which continent they belonged to. No matter what would happen after entering the Crimson Sky World, they could not let others see them as a joke. Brother Long, Little June, I believe you guys already know about the 9-state storm battle. I won't say much about it. Every time the 9-state storm battle takes place, there will be countless casualties. Every time the 9-state storm battle takes place, there will be a great change in the 9-state storm rankings. Therefore, I only want to tell you one thing. No matter what happens, you must come out alive. It was better to be safe than sorry. If they entered the Crimson Sky World and got separated, they would have to take care of themselves. At that time, they would be besieged on all sides and could encounter danger at any time. No one could guarantee that they could come out alive. Longao and Xia Jun nodded firmly. Longao said, "We will definitely come out safely." Longao, you actually dare to participate in the battle of the 9 states. Our Tianzhou's face has been completely thrown away by you. Watung, who the F***ck do you think you are? Scram. Chapter 239. As a super figure on the Fengyun list, Hua Tong would certainly participate in this year's 9 states battle. Hua Tong sneered, his face full of contempt and ridicule. Longao, as everyone knows, the reason why you can be on the Fengyun list is because you use some unorthodox methods. If it's your true strength, even 10 of you won't be a match for Zhang Zhihong. Whether I'm a match for Zhang Zhihong or not, it's none of your business. Longao said coldly. But now, he had to focus on the overall situation. He couldn't let people from other states see him as a joke. Otherwise, Xia Jun would have already taken action. Ha ha ha, what does it have to do with me? Suddenly, Hua Tong laughed. In the originally quiet scene, Hua Tong's laughter was particularly ear-piercing. Who the hell is this? Reckless thing. Grandson, what are you shouting for? Go and die if you have the ability. Ignoring the curses coming from all around, Hua Tong suddenly said loudly, "Brothers of the 9 states, I'll tell you one thing. Our Tianzhou has a trash who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. I swear now, if anyone can kill this person in the Scarlet Sky World, I'll give him this beast core of the spiritual beast of the Tao ancestor." The Void Beast Core was equivalent to the full power of a Tao ancestor. One could imagine how valuable the Beast Core that Huateng suddenly took out was. Hearing Huateng's words, people began to talk about it. They all wanted to know how big the grudge between Huateng and the young man opposite him was. He couldn't even wait for the Nine States battle. But the great reward would attract brave men. A beast core of the spiritual beast of the Tao ancestor was very tempting. Huateng knew very well that although no one agreed with him, once they entered the Scarlet Sky world, there would definitely be people who couldn't resist the temptation and would choose to deal with Longao. Dugubai and Xiajun's faces were gloomy to the extreme, as ugly as they could be. Holding back Dugubai and Xiajun, who were about to explode, Longao said with a smile, "Brother Dugu, Brother Xia, will you bite the dog back after being bitten by it?" Xiajun also said with a smile, "Of course not. Only dogs can do this kind of thing. We can't do it." Longao and Dugubai laughed. Only Huateng's face turned gloomy. With a cold smile, Huateng said, "Longao, you don't need to be arrogant here. When we enter the Scarlet Sky world later, I will let you know what pain is." "Anytime." Looking at Huateng leaving, Xiajun asked curiously, "Brother Long, do you have a grudge with Huateng?" "I don't know. He's really AF * King Psycho. Brother Long, you don't have to pay attention to him. If he dares to talk nonsense, we'll join hands and kill him after we enter the Scarlet Sky world." Xiajun was very confident. With the three of them working together, who could be their opponent? As for Huateng, not to mention the three of them working together, Xiajun alone was enough to deal with Huateng. Longao smiled. From the beginning to the end, he didn't put Huateng in his eyes at all. It didn't matter if he didn't come. If he came, he would make sure that Huateng would never return. "Brother Long, many of our brothers are here. Why don't I introduce them to you?" Waving his hand, Longao said with a smile, "Brother Dugu, Brother Xia, you don't have to worry about me. I want to be alone." Dugubai and Xiajun looked at each other. The two of them didn't say anything and left one after another. In the top 100 of the Tianzhou ranking, 90 people came from the 6 major sections. On average, each sect had about 15 people. The Sound of Thunder sect had a slightly larger proportion of people on the ranking. Therefore, the Sound of Thunder sect alone had a total of 18 people on the ranking. It could be considered a large team. In any case, the Sound of Thunder sect was one of the most powerful sects among the 6 major sections. Its strength and heritage were obvious. Under such circumstances, who would be stupid enough to provoke the Sound of Thunder sect? Apart from the Sound of Thunder sect, the other 5 major sects, the Golden Sun sect, and the Blood Sea sect had all received a death order. No matter what happened, they had to kill Longao. Longao was well aware of this. He sat alone on the huge rock, ignoring the chattering crowd around him. Longao closed his eyes and no one knew what he was thinking. Ding-dong! A loud bell rang. Everyone stood up and looked at the Scarlet Sky world in front of them. Everyone knew that the bell meant that the Battle of the 9 States had officially begun. Everyone had a tacit understanding. Starting from the Tianzhou, the 9 states entered the Scarlet Sky world one after another. Once they entered the Scarlet Sky world, everyone would receive a token with their own soul power. The rules of the Battle of the 9 States were simple. It was killing. No matter if it was an enemy or one's own people. As long as you could kill them and take their soul tokens, no one would care about it. In other words, in addition to killing people from other states, Longao could also kill people from the Tianzhou state and take their soul tokens. For example, he killed Huateng. According to the rules of the Battle of the 9 States, under normal circumstances, there would be a melee without integration. For example, the Tianzhou and the Scarlet State would gather everyone for a melee. Instead, everyone would spread out and kill each other one by one. Only in this way could they achieve the greatest development through experience. However, no one would care if everyone entered the Scarlet Sky world. Dugubai and Xiajun were afraid that something would happen to Longao. They followed Longao into the Scarlet Sky world and kept an eye on the others, including the disciples of the Flame City. In the end, the Scarlet Sky world was nothing more than a separate place. It was called the Ancient Battlefield. There were many tombs of experts, but no one could get them. In the beginning, many people entered the Scarlet Sky world to look for the ancient tombs, hoping to get the inheritance of experts. However, very few people could get the inheritance. Over time, no one entered the Scarlet Sky world to look for the so-called ancient tombs. Big Brother Dugu, is this really the ancient battlefield? Nodding, Dugubai said, it should be. 1,000 years ago, before the 9 states were divided, the world was in chaos. Various forces fought for territory and set off a great war. There were countless casualties. It could be said that corpses were everywhere and blood flowed like rivers. Since then, the continent was divided into the 9 states. The Scarlet Sky world and other places were also called the ancient battlefield. After thinking for a while, Dugubai continued, according to the rumors, there were many experts fighting in the Scarlet Sky world. It was because of this that the Scarlet Sky world was called the ancient battlefield. However, one thing has always been a mystery. The tombs that should have existed in the Scarlet Sky world suddenly disappeared. No one could find them. Before Longao could speak, Huateng, who had been silent all this time, suddenly said, Big Brother Dugu, Brother Long, trouble is coming. Among the 3 of them, Longao was definitely the strongest. Although his cultivation level was not as high as Dugubai's, Longao was 100% confident. However, Longao respected this Big Brother Dugu very much. Therefore, he would always ask Dugubai about the Battle of the 9 States. Brother Long, there are countless geniuses in the 9 states. There are many powerful people on the 8 states ranking list. Moreover, there are more than 700 people in the Battle of the 9 states. If we choose to fight them head-on, it may not be a good thing. Break them one by one. Yes, break them one by one. As Xiao Jun said, if the 3 of us join forces, as long as we don't meet a heaven-defying character, we can definitely face all difficulties. Big Brother Dugu is right. We'll deal with whatever comes our way. I'd like to see who will be so blind as to provoke us. Longao had a general understanding of the 9 states ranking list. There were 9 ranking lists in the 9 states. Although the Tianzhou ranking list was the weakest, the strongest person on the other 8 ranking lists would not surpass the Tao ancestor. In other words, there were no void warriors among the 900 people on the 9 states ranking list. After receiving this news, Longao heaved a sigh of relief. Longao was very confident in his own strength, but he also knew his own limitations. With his current strength, it was impossible for him to be a match for a Nihility martial artist, even if he encountered a Nihility disaster martial artist. Brother Long, although there are countless deaths and injuries in every battle of the 9 states, I have to admit that the Battle of the 9 states is indeed an excellent experience for a warrior. This is because only by constantly experiencing life and death situations can one's strength continue to increase. Regarding this point, Longao also agreed very much. Not to mention others, if he had not experienced countless life and death situations, his strength would not have increased so quickly. In just a few months, he had grown from a trash in the Scarlet Fire town to an earthly sovereign realm martial artist. With this achievement, Longao was full of confidence that he could look down on the Tianzhou state. Huateng, do you want to F** King die? Seeing the appearance of Huateng's group, Xia Jun's face instantly turned gloomy. The other party had provoked them again and again. This was simply unbearable. Longao and Dugubai's complexion didn't look too good either. It was just as Xia Jun had thought. Huateng was looking for trouble again and again. If they continued to endure, the other party would think that they were afraid. The 3 of you, calm down. I came to find you this time mainly because someone asked me to. So, I'm sorry, but the 3 of you must die. Moreover, you must die immediately. With just you? Xia Jun's face was full of contempt. Huateng had a total of 17 people. Chapter 241. Xia Jun, you're courting death. Huateng stopped his junior brothers from getting angry. He sneered and said, Don't be angry. I'll let you know the difference between us. As he spoke, Huateng took out a small bottle and opened the cap. A ray of light suddenly shot out. Void aura. Hearing Dugubai's shout, Longao and Xia Jun realized what had happened. Void soul. It was hard for them to imagine how Huateng had obtained a void soul. Ha ha ha, Dugubai, I have to say that your senses are pretty good. That's right, this senior is a void realm expert. I'd like to see how you'll survive in the hands of a Void Realm expert. At this moment, Longao and the other two finally knew why Huatong was so arrogant this time. They thought that Huatong's brain was flooded with water. They didn't expect that Huatong had something to rely on. The three of them knew very well what a void soul represented. Huatong, I'd like to know why you want to deal with us? Dugu Bai's voice was extremely serious. Although the Blaze sect and the Sound of Thunder sect were like fire and water, they didn't dare to be so open. Could it be that the Blaze sect was so arrogant that they could dominate Tianzhou with their own strength? Ha ha ha, seeing that you're already dead, I'll tell you. This senior is from the Blood Sea sect. Blood Sea sect? He didn't continue asking because Longao and the other two already knew what had happened. It seemed that the Blood Sea sect wanted to use the Battle of the Nine States to eliminate them. Longao couldn't understand. Wasn't the Blood Sea sect afraid of provoking the Sound of Thunder sect? Moreover, since the Blood Sea sect had such a powerful soul, why would they use Huatong to deal with them? After thinking about it, Longao finally came to a conclusion. The Blood Sea sect didn't dare to provoke the Sound of Thunder sect. Therefore, they entered the Scarlet Sky world and let Huatong release his soul to deal with them. What a shameless Blood Sea sect. Thinking of this, Longao, Xiajun, and Dugu Bai looked at each other. Without any hesitation, the three of them turned and left quickly. Although the Void Disaster Soul was not as strong as the original body, it was still a Void Disaster Soul. Even if the three of them worked together, they might not be able to defeat it. As the three of them flew away, Longao took out the God-slaying mirror from his chest and activated its inside. A strange power spread out in all directions, directly covering Huatong and his soul. Time reversed for 3 seconds. With the reversal of time, the speed of the nothingness soul slowed down. Longao and the other two's speed became relatively faster, but the nothingness soul was always above the transformation martial artists. Contempt was written all over the nihility soul's face. He suddenly released a powerful aura that suppressed everything. Besides the great difference in strength between a transformation martial artist and a nihility martial artist, the aura was also the most important factor. Under the suppression of his aura, Longao and the other two's advantage immediately disappeared. Since that was the case, why not fight? The three of them looked at each other and saw a trace of determination in each other's eyes. The three of them clearly knew that Huatong had come prepared this time. Even if the three of them could escape this time, what about the future? As the saying went, they could hide for a while, but they couldn't hide forever. It was because of this that Longao, Xiajun, and Dugu Bai didn't continue to dodge. Instead, they chose to take the initiative to attack. But at this time, Huatong suddenly laughed out loud, as if he had just seen the funniest joke in the world. His face was cold and filled with contempt. You will all die today. As Huatong's voice fell, the nothingness soul once again released a powerful aura, wave after wave. The nothingness soul wasn't an idiot. If they fought in close combat, with the weakness of his soul, it would be very difficult for him to kill the three of them in a short period of time. However, Huatong and the nothingness soul still underestimated Longao. Lin Ming punched out with both fists. He didn't even need to use the Divine Dragon Arm or the Dark Tiger Arm. Just the power of Thunder Tribulation alone was enough to cause the nothingness soul to feel dread and retreat step by step. The power of Thunder Tribulation was the nemesis of souls. Even a nihility martial artist was the same. They didn't dare approach it at all. The nothingness soul didn't even dare to counterattack. This was the power of Thunder Tribulation. Longao, you're courting death. Seeing that Longao could actually use the power of Thunder Tribulation, Huatong didn't expect it. In a rage, he shot towards Longao. But the one who met him was Xiajun, uneducated beast. I'll take you on. Since Zhang Zhihang's death, Xiajun's ranking on the ranking list had risen to 4th place. As for Huatong, his ranking had also risen to 5th place. In fact, Huatong had always been unconvinced. He wanted to find a chance to fight with Xiajun to obtain a higher ranking on the ranking list. Huatong wasn't an idiot. If he could kill the three of them this time, then his ranking would directly rise to 2nd place. If he could kill his senior brother Miao Cheng, then wouldn't the 1st place on the Tianzhou ranking list belong to him? In the blink of an eye, Xiajun and Huatong were already engaged in a fierce battle. The two of them had similar strength, so it was impossible to determine the winner in a short period of time. Longao and Duguobai were using all their strength to deal with the nothingness soul. With the suppression of the power of thunder and lightning, the two of them joined forces and attacked from left and right. However, the nothingness soul was illusory. It was impossible to kill it in close combat. The only way was to disperse the origin of the soul, or to directly use the power of thunder tribulation to destroy it. Longao knew very well that if it was a soul that had transformed, even if it was in the Tao ancestor realm, he would have full confidence in defeating it. However, the situation was different now. The other party was in the nihility realm. Therefore, the power of thunder tribulation that he possessed could only suppress it, but not destroy it. Ha ha ha, so it's just a bluff. Today, I want to see if the first and third place on the ranking list are trash. The nothingness soul laughed crazily. His laughter was filled with disdain and contempt. His entire soul turned into a stream of light and shot towards the two of them. The two of them knew very well that if they were to be entangled by the other party, then they would be doomed. Because of this, the two of them didn't choose to fight the other party head-on. Instead, they chose to keep moving. Brother Long, you go and help Xiao Jun. I'll deal with this person. Brother Dugu, let me do it. You? Dugubai seemed to be very surprised because he knew Longao's strength the best. He was only a primary Earth sovereign. Even if he possessed the power of thunder tribulation, it was impossible for him to kill a nothingness soul. However, at this moment, a destructive aura suddenly erupted from Longao's body. Sensing this aura, not only was Dugubai stunned, but the nothingness soul was also completely stunned. He shouted in surprise, "Impossible! This is impossible! How can you possess the aura of heaven and earth?" Chapter 242. Aura of Heaven and Earth. Dugubai didn't know what aura of heaven and earth was, but seeing the nihility soul's shocked expression, Dugubai knew that the martial skill Longao was using was no small matter. Since I created my own martial skill, you're the first person to enjoy it. I hope you're satisfied. Longao's voice was extremely cold, but when Dugubai heard that, he was extremely shocked. He didn't know what aura of heaven and earth was, but he knew what a self-created martial skill represented. It had to be known that the martial skills of the martial heaven continent had existed for tens of thousands of years, or even millions of years. As for who had passed them down, no one knew. But Dugubai knew one thing, and that was that those who could create their own martial skills were all heavenly geniuses. Xiajun and Huatong, who were fighting, also stopped to look at Longao. They were also very shocked that Longao had created his own martial skill. They wanted to see how powerful it was. You don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. If you can create your own martial skill, I, Huatong, will write it backwards. Ignoring Huatong's ridicule, Longao's body suddenly emitted a powerful aura. It was the aura of heaven and earth that the nihility soul had just spoken of. Impossible. You actually have aura of heaven and earth. Could it be that you are? Not giving the nihility soul any chance to speak, Longao's voice sounded like it came from hell. Heaven and earth mourn. Following that, Longao began to crazily revolve with his body as the center. At that moment, the surrounding spiritual chi crazily rushed toward Longao like a tornado. Heaven and earth mourn. Dugubai, Xiajun, and Huatong looked at Longao foolishly. Ignoring the power of this martial skill, just the name was domineering enough. The nihility soul didn't dare to meet force with force because he knew that if his true body existed, he wouldn't have to worry about Longao. But the problem was that he was only a soul. He was most afraid of two kinds of power. One was tribulation lightning, and the other was aura of heaven and earth. The nihility soul had never imagined that a mere earth sovereign could create aura of heaven and earth. It was simply unheard of. Aura of heaven and earth was like nirvana rebirth. Longao's body rotated and crazily absorbed the surrounding heaven and earth spirit chi, forming a huge tornado around him. Just as the nothingness's soul was about to escape, Longao's body also moved. His body moved, and a tornado moved. Moreover, a terrifying pressure of the world's aura enveloped the nothingness's soul. Ah! A blood-curdling scream rang out. Without even a chance to resist, the void soul was devoured. Huateng, who was watching the battle from the side, was completely dumbfounded when he saw the scene that had just happened. He swallowed his saliva fiercely and didn't dare to stay in the slightest. Taking advantage of the moment when the two people weren't paying attention, he quietly led everyone away. Dugubai and Xiajun did not notice Huateng's departure. Seeing Longao reappear after the tornado disappeared, the two of them sighed. Erase the soul of nothingness? What kind of concept was that? The two of them clearly knew that with Longao's current strength, he was completely qualified to be ranked first on the wind cloud list. Unless a true Nihility Realm cultivator came, Longao would be the #1 person under the Nihility Realm. Brother Long, you really killed the nothingness's soul? Up until now, Dugubai and Xiajun felt as if they were dreaming. Nihility Realm cultivators were simply supreme existences in their hearts, even if they only existed in the form of a soul. If it wasn't for the aura of heaven and earth, I wouldn't have been able to kill this person. Brother Long, what is the aura of heaven and earth? I don't know. I just happened to see the wonder of heaven and earth and comprehended a martial skill from there. As for this martial skill, it hasn't been perfected yet. It was simply infuriating to compare oneself to others. It hadn't been perfected yet, and he already had such a martial skill. It was hard to imagine. If it was perfected, then wouldn't Longao's sorrow of heaven and earth be heaven-defying? Dugubai and Xiajun didn't continue asking. As friends, the two of them clearly knew what to ask and what not to ask. Longao himself was not too surprised that he had successfully killed the nothingness soul. This was because he knew very well that the reason he was able to kill the nothingness soul this time was mainly because of the power of the thunder calamity and the sorrow of heaven and earth that he had just created. If a true Nihility Realm cultivator came, then it was still unknown whether he could withstand it. Longao didn't express his thoughts. Big Brother Dugu, Brother Xia, where are the people from the Golden Sun sect? Brother Long, this wind-cloud battle of the 9 states is both dangerous and an opportunity for everyone. I have always believed that only by constantly tempering oneself and experiencing life and death situations can one become a top-notch cultivator. Therefore, I dismissed everyone this time and let them train themselves. Under the pressure of life and death, I believe that their cultivation will rise very quickly. So that's how it is. How could Longao not know what Dugubai meant? He was a living example. If it weren't for so many life and death experiences, how could he have become who he was now? Brother Long, Huateng didn't succeed in killing us this time. I believe that he will definitely not let this matter rest. Therefore, in this wind-cloud battle of the 9 states, we must eliminate him completely. Longao wasn't worried about Huateng. His voice was grave as he said, I'm not worried about Huateng. I'm worried about the Blazing Sect and the Blood Sea Sect. If I'm not mistaken, the Blazing Sect and the Blood Sea Sect have already formed an alliance. Dugubai and Xiajun both agreed with Longao's analysis. If the two sects hadn't formed an alliance, how could Huateng possess the nothingness's soul? Because of this, the three of them had ugly expressions. The three of them clearly knew what an alliance between the two sects meant. If it was just the Blazing Sect or the Blood Sea Sect, the Sound of Thunder sect wouldn't be afraid at all. However, in an alliance, everything would be different. Brother Long, let's not worry about the Blood Sea sect and the Blazing sect for now. Right now, the most important thing is to deal with Huateng. The matter of you creating your own martial technique must not be leaked out. Longao seemed to be curious. What's wrong with creating my own martial technique? Of course, Dugubai knew what Longao was thinking. He said helplessly, Brother Long, you don't know. The 6 great sects will not allow heaven-defying people to appear. You are able to create your own martial technique and use the strength of an earthly sovereign to obliterate the nothingness's soul. This already proves your talent and potential. If nothing unexpected happens, once this matter spreads out, many people will not let you off. So that's how it is. In the end, the 6 great sects didn't want anyone to threaten their position. Just thinking about it made them feel that it was somewhat funny. The 6 great sects didn't need to talk about developing their strength. They would only be envious and jealous. Chapter 243. Longao didn't dare to agree. After all, being framed by others out of jealousy wasn't a good thing. Just as Dugubai had said, it was indeed not worth it to bring endless trouble to oneself for the sake of martial skills. Big brother Dugu, brother Long, since it's like this, let's immediately go find Huateng. Wait, the rules of the 9 states battle of the 9 states state that no one is allowed to fight today. So let's start tomorrow. Very unhappy, Xiajun angrily said, if Huateng can break the rules, can't we? Dugubai smiled and said, just as brother Long said, if you were bitten by a dog, would you bite back? Huateng broke the rules, so naturally, someone will take care of him. But we can't break the rules and ruin the sect's reputation. Xiajun helplessly shrugged. Since things had already reached this point, even if he didn't want to, he could only choose to remain silent. After killing the void spirit, Longao didn't know what was wrong with him. He kept feeling upset and said, Big brother Dugu, brother Xia, I want to walk alone. Although the two didn't know what happened to Longao, they still nodded and told him to be careful. Looking at Longao's departing figure, Xiajun worriedly said, Big brother Dugu, brother Long seems to be a bit off. Nodding his head, Dugubai obviously saw it. He deeply sighed and said, Brother Long's burden far surpasses ours. We have the sect's protection and can cultivate in peace. But what about brother Long? Xiajun obviously knew about Longao's situation. Putting himself in their shoes, if Longao's situation was given to the two of them, would they still be able to have their current achievements? Longao walked alone. Because of the rules of the 9 states battle of the 9 states, no one dared to take the initiative to attack Longao. Even the people of the Tianzhou were the same. He came to a very secluded place. Longao didn't have any expression on his face. He indifferently asked, I want to know, where is Yuan? At this time, a black-clothed old woman suddenly appeared in front of Longao. He couldn't see the old woman's face, only a pair of deep eyes. The old woman's body swayed with the wind, as if she could be blown away at any time. However, Longao did not dare to be the slightest bit careless. Think about it, a person who could enter the scarlet sky world and call out to him without making a sound. Could he be an ordinary person? I've always looked down on you, because in my eyes, you've always been trash. Longao didn't say anything. He just stood there and listened quietly. Because you're trash, I didn't plan to let Yuan follow you in the beginning. What about you now? Longao was sure that the black-clothed granny in front of him was Yu Yin's mysterious master. She was the master who wanted to take Yuan away but didn't appear in Red Fire Town because of something. Longao knew very well that if this person had insisted on taking Yuan away, he would not have been able to do anything. I still can't agree. Why? A powerful aura suddenly erupted from Longao's body. It was the so-called chi power of heaven and earth. However, the powerful chi power of heaven and earth did not seem to suppress the black-clothed granny at all. Longao waved his hand. Before Longao could figure out what was going on, the aura of heaven and earth that he released earlier had already disappeared without a trace. Longao was startled. At this moment, Longao finally understood how frightening the strength of Yuan's master was. Chi power of heaven and earth, you really surprised me. You're only in the earthly emperor realm, but you've already condensed the chi power of heaven and earth. You'll definitely be reborn in the future. Longao didn't want to listen to this at all. He asked coldly, Where's Yuan? Longao, your talent and potential are good, but your current strength is not good enough for Yuan. I can tell you clearly that Yuan is cultivating in seclusion somewhere. Her cultivation has surpassed yours. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't surprised. Longao was very confident about his cultivation speed. But what about Yuan? She had already surpassed him. This in itself showed what kind of existence the black-clothed granny in front of him was. It could be described in 6 words, simply too terrifying. Longao, I believe you can also sense my strength. Let's get straight to the point. If you want to get Yuan in the future, you only have one way to go, and that is to have more strength. Senior, I want to ask, What realm do I have to reach in order to get Yuin? Let's have a look at the World Emperor first. Plop. Hearing the black-clothed granny's words, Longao almost fell down. Let's have a look at the World Emperor first. Do you think that the World Emperor is a cabbage on the street? You can have as many as you want. Suppressing the contempt in his heart, before Longao could respond, the black-clothed granny's figure had disappeared without a trace. You still haven't told me. Where is Yuin? Humph. You still don't have the qualifications to know. He couldn't sense any aura at all. Longao couldn't even see the direction in which she disappeared. This kind of strength was simply too terrifying. Longao was completely sure that Yu Yin's master was a genuine Nihility Realm expert. Furthermore, his strength was above Supreme Being. Clenching his fists tightly, Longao had always felt guilty about Yuin. It was because of his carelessness that Yuin was taken away by her master. Although he knew that nothing would happen to Yuin, Longao was still worried. Yuin, where are you? In a cave somewhere in the Sky Martial continent. The entire cave was made of crystal. It was like an ice palace. Yuin was sitting on a huge crystal ball. She was concentrating on cultivating. Perhaps it was because of telepathy, Yuin suddenly opened her eyes. Looking at the distant scarlet flame town, her face was filled with longing. Brother Ao, are you calling for me? Unknowingly, Yuin had already started to cry. After the pain of separation for several months, Yuin could only turn this pain into cultivation. According to her master, as long as her cultivation reached a certain level, she could leave this place and look for Longao. For the love of her heart, Yuin cultivated day and night. With the right time, place, and people, Yuin took advantage of everything. Her cultivation soared like a rocket, even surpassing Longao. Longao's cultivation soared quickly because of the tempering of life and death. Yu Yin's cultivation soared quickly because other than the cultivation environment her master gave her, it was also because of the love in her heart. If you don't leave me, I'll stay by your side in life and death. If you don't leave me, I'll stay by your side in life and death, Yuin softly muttered. Then she closed her eyes again and continued to cultivate. The sooner she broke through, the sooner she could leave this place. Chapter 244. Inside the Dragon Seal Space. Long Fu, I just used heaven and earth's sorrow. Why do I feel upset and even have a very strange feeling? Longao was certain that it wasn't a good thing. Could it be the backlash of heaven and earth's sorrow? Thinking about it, he felt that it wasn't very likely because heaven and earth's sorrow was a martial skill that he created himself. If even a self-created martial skill could cause a backlash, then this matter would really be troublesome. Master, the heaven and earth's aura that you condensed isn't a power that you should have right now. So if you want to forcefully use it, you will only suffer a backlash. As expected. Hearing Long Fu's words, Longao's face instantly became gloomy. The heaven and earth's sorrow that he created with great difficulty would actually cause a backlash. It was simply laughable. If it was an ordinary martial skill, then forget about it. But the power of heaven and earth's sorrow was something that Longao had personally seen and experienced. It could even devour nothingness and souls. If he couldn't use heaven and earth's sorrow in the future, not to mention heaven and earth's sorrow, at that time, it would be his own tragedy. Master, fortunately, heaven and earth's sorrow is a martial skill that you created yourself, so even if there's a backlash, it won't cause too much damage to you. It's just that every time you use this martial skill, you will feel tired. Not much effect? Longao let out a long sigh of relief. No matter what, being able to continue using heaven and earth's sorrow was always a good thing. But at this time, Long Fu said, Master, you can use this martial skill, but you absolutely can't use the heaven and earth's aura alone. Otherwise, once you're devoured by this aura, even I can't do anything about it. It's that serious? It's a dead end. Helplessly shrugging, since the consequences were so serious, Longao naturally wouldn't be stupid enough to cause trouble for himself. Long Fu, the person that just appeared, can you feel his strength? No, but I can clearly tell Master that the person just now is very strong, very strong. Longao wasn't surprised at all because he had already guessed that Yu Yin's master must be a super expert. Otherwise, it would be impossible for Yu Yin's strength to surpass his in such a short period of time. Without asking further, Longao left the dragon seal space and returned the way he came. Longao, I heard that you created a martial skill. Is that true? Seeing Miao Cheng and Huatang suddenly blocking his way, Longao was not angry at all. His face was filled with disgust as he coldly said, "Scram! Ha ha ha! Who do you think you are? Longao, if you can defeat senior brother Miao Cheng, I will kneel before you and call you grandfather 3 times. What are you shouting for? I'll call you grandpa 3 times. Say it again. What are you shouting? Grandpa, do you fucking understand? I said I'll call you grandpa." Just as he finished speaking, Huatang finally realized that something was wrong. His face instantly became gloomy, and he said with an unsightly expression, "You dare take advantage of me? Huatang, don't be wishful thinking here. I don't want to take advantage of you. Sigh, having a grandson like you is the most tragic thing in the world." As he spoke, Longao shook his head. His meaning was very simple. You're not good enough. You're disgracing your grandfather. Longao's ridicule and disregard made Huatang completely furious. If Miao Cheng hadn't stopped him, with Huatang's violent temper, he would have definitely attacked. Miao Cheng smiled and suddenly said, "Don't think that just because you killed the nihility spirit, you're invincible. Longao, I now formally challenge you. Do you dare accept?" Challenging him at this time? Under normal circumstances, Longao would definitely not refuse, but the situation now was completely different. Longao didn't want to deal with Miao Cheng in the Scarlet Sky world. In any case, the Battle of the 9 Regions would begin tomorrow. If he killed 2 people now, wouldn't he be laughed at by the world? Longao chose to ignore the 2 and turn to leave, but at this time, Miao Cheng stretched out his hand and stopped Longao. He said coldly, "Longao, I originally thought that you were still a character, but I didn't expect that you're just a cowardly turtle. Senior brother, don't you know that Longao was used to being humiliated in the past? Let me think. From now on, you don't need to be called Longao, but Xiao." Longao was still not ready to pay attention to the 2. As he just said, if he was bitten by a dog, would he turn back and bite the dog? It was a very ridiculous thing, but Miao Cheng obviously didn't want to let it go. He sneered and said, "Longao, if you don't dare to accept my challenge, you have to admit that your parents are also turtles. Say it again." Parents were obviously Longao's weakness. Did he want to insult his parents? Longao's eyes gradually became cold. Before Huatang could speak, Longao said with a sneer, "Huatang, do you believe that I can kill you in seconds? Even if Miao Cheng is here, I can still do it. Do you want to try?" Looking at Longao's cold eyes, Huatang didn't know why, but he felt as if he had fallen into an ice cave, and he shuddered. Huatang scolded himself fiercely in his heart, but in the end, he didn't dare to say anything more. With the previous example, he had just witnessed with his own eyes that Longao had obliterated the nihility soul. If Longao could really kill him in an instant, wouldn't he be a tragedy? Longao, if you don't want to shame your parents, I will officially challenge you now. Do you dare to accept? Chapter 245. Challenge me? Huateng seemed to have yet to react. Don't tell me you don't dare? Longao, are you King looking for trouble, or are you looking down on senior brother Miao Cheng? He has already challenged you, and you have accepted his challenge. Why are you challenging me now? Although Huateng spoke in such a righteous manner, he actually did not dare to accept the challenge. Even Nihility Spirit was no match for Miao Cheng, let alone him. Only an idiot like Miao Cheng would challenge Longao. Huateng had already prepared himself. If Miao Cheng lost, he would immediately run away without saying a word. If Longao lost, he would take advantage of his weakness to deal with Longao directly. It could also be considered as cutting the weeds and eliminating the roots. Once both of them were injured, he would be able to reap the benefits by killing both of them and taking away Longao's treasures. Sai, the dignified young master of Flame Sect, actually doesn't dare to accept the challenge. I feel humiliated for your parents. If I were them, I would have bought a kilogram of tofu and killed myself at home. Being humiliated like this, Huatang's face instantly turned gloomy. Longao, if you can defeat senior brother, I will accept your challenge. Longao smiled contemptuously. He had seen shameless people before, but he had never seen such a shameless person. If he defeated Miao Cheng, would Huatang still dare to accept the challenge? Huatang was only an earthly sovereign, but Miao Cheng was a genuine Dao ancestor. The two of them were not on the same level. Not to mention Longao, even Miao Cheng felt that Huatang was shameless. However, due to Huatang's identity, he could not say anything. Huatang, you and Miao Cheng come together. Hearing Longao's words, both Huatang and Miao Cheng were stunned at first, then they immediately became furious. Contempt, this was simply contempt. If the two of them joined forces, even if they won, it would not be a glorious thing. Longao, you are courting death. Don't tell me you don't dare. Ha ha ha, Longao, I have to admit that you are truly arrogant. Sure, Huatang and I can join forces to challenge you. However, you must promise me that if we win, you must hand over the 2 treasures in your possession. 2 treasures? Could it be the God-sealing pearl and the God-punishing mirror? Even now, Longao still didn't know why news of him possessing the God-sealing pearl and God-slaying mirror had spread out. Longao knew very well that if this matter were to spread out, he would have endless troubles in the future. After all, these 2 treasures of his were too heaven-defying. The temptation was simply too great. Longao didn't continue to dwell on this matter. He knew that there was only one thing he needed to do now, and that was to deal with Miao Cheng and Huatang. Miao Cheng, you want nothing more than the God-sealing pearl and God-punishing mirror. I can promise you that as long as the 2 of you join forces and defeat me, I will give you 2 treasures. How about it? It's a deal. Huatang cursed in his heart. He simply didn't want to agree to this. After all, his situation was different from Miao Cheng's. There was an entire level of difference between them, like the difference between heaven and earth. But now that things had come to this point, if he didn't agree, then it would arouse Miao Cheng's suspicions. Huatang cursed in his heart once more. He walked to Miao Cheng's side and said, Longao, you are truly arrogant. Wait a moment, I will let you know the consequences of your arrogance. Nonsense. Waving his hand, Miao Cheng stopped the angry Huatang and coldly said, Let's begin. The 3 of them didn't speak. They looked at each other, each of them emitting a powerful aura. Soon, the 3 auras collided. Longao didn't use the aura of the world, nor did he use the sorrow of heaven and earth. This was because at some unknown time, a crowd had gathered around them, all of them looking at the 3 of them. It seemed that they were ready to watch a good show. In an instant, Longao, Huatang, and Miao Cheng all moved. The 3 of them wanted to end this battle as quickly as possible, so they attacked with everything they had. Huatang and Miao Cheng attacked from the left and right. Longao chose the most direct method, which was to smash with his fists. The divine dragon in his right arm and the dark tiger in his left arm constantly blocked the 2's attacks. In this way, the 3 of them had fought for more than 10 rounds in the blink of an eye. Longao knew that between Miao Cheng and Huatang, Huatang was the weakest. Therefore, he had to deal with Huatang first, and then slowly deal with Miao Cheng. The dark tiger's arm smashed towards Huatang fiercely. With fear in his heart, he didn't choose to meet Longao head-on. It seemed that he was exerting a lot of strength, but in fact, he was leading Longao to Miao Cheng. Shameless. Cursing in his heart, Longao moved his fists together, one punch after another. The sky was filled with fist shadows, directly enveloping the 2 of them. Soul-subduing seal, dark-burning seal, sky-burying seal. Longao used 3 seals in a row. Together with the divine dragon's arm and dark tiger's arm, the power was not as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. At this moment, Huatang was depressed to the extreme. He didn't know what was going on, but Longao kept attacking him, as if he was the enemy who killed his father. Although depressed, Huatang didn't dare to be the slightest bit careless. He kept receiving the other's fists. However, Longao's fists were too strong. Seizing this rare opportunity, Longao ruthlessly smashed his fist out. Huatang couldn't dodge in time, and could only choose to meet force with force. He also swung his right arm and smashed it out. When the two fists collided, a cracking sound was heard. Following that, Huateng screamed as Longao's fist directly smashed him away. What kind of joke was this? Longao's divine dragon's arm had fused with all of Longchang's strength. This fist had the weight of 10,000 jin. If Huateng hadn't blocked it in time, this fist alone would have been enough to take his life. Longao didn't hesitate and followed up with another attack. The divine dragon's arm and dark tiger's arm ruthlessly smashed out again. At this moment, Miao Cheng's figure arrived. He didn't continue to chase after Huateng. Longao freed himself to fight with Miao Cheng. Huateng, who was sent flying by the fist, climbed up from the ground with difficulty. His face was filled with fear. One had to know that he was also a genuine earthly sovereign. If he hadn't experienced it himself, he wouldn't have believed it even if he was beaten to death. Longao's strength and situation had already exceeded his scope of understanding. Huateng didn't dare to continue fighting because he didn't want to die. Moreover, he didn't want to be smashed to death. Seeing Huateng sent flying by Longao's fist, everyone was extremely shocked, especially the people of Tianzhou. They understood Longao better. Fist after fist, constantly changing. Longao didn't use any other martial skills because he was completely confident that just relying on the divine dragon's arm and dark tiger's arm would be enough to defeat his opponent. At this moment, Miao Cheng was extremely depressed and was forced to retreat step by step. Chapter 246. In the eyes of outsiders, the battle between Longao and Miao Cheng was a huge disparity. Miao Cheng was a genuine peak Dao ancestor, while Longao was only a beginner Earth Emperor. Could a beginner Earth Emperor defeat a peak Dao ancestor? As everyone knew, the gap between an Earth Emperor and a Dao ancestor was huge. They were not on the same level at all. However, seeing Longao closing in on Miao Cheng and forcing him to retreat with punches, everyone could not react in time. Longao, I'll let you have a taste of my flame sect's raging flames burning the sky. Raging flames burning the sky was one of the most powerful martial techniques of flame sect. When Miao Cheng and Zhang Zhihong were both Earth Emperors, Miao Cheng defeated Zhang Zhihong with raging flames burning the sky and ranked second on the wind cloud list. One could imagine how powerful flame sect's raging flames burning the sky was. Miao Cheng borrowed the powerful spiritual qi of heaven and earth and used some unknown method to turn the spiritual qi of heaven and earth into flames. In other words, at this moment, Miao Cheng looked like a burning fire god from afar. He was very powerful and strange. Dugubai and Xia Jun rushed over after hearing the news. When they saw Longao and Miao Cheng fighting to the death, their faces turned ugly. Even though they were very worried, they still did not help. In a battle of life and death between cultivators, unless one was shameless or did not care about the morality of cultivators, most people would not interfere in a battle of life and death between cultivators. This was the spirit of martial artists. Brother Dugu, is Brother Long a match for Miao Cheng? Miao Cheng will definitely lose. Without thinking, Dugu Bai had already come to a conclusion. How could a person who could destroy the nothingness soul be defeated by a mere Dao ancestor? Raging flames burning the sky. Miao Cheng's entire body seemed to be burning. At this moment, Miao Cheng was like a volcano. No matter who touched him, they would immediately be incinerated by the flames. The lighter ones would be burned, the heavier ones would be burned to death. Longao certainly knew that this martial technique of flame sect was very powerful. He would not choose to fight Miao Cheng head-on. Similarly, he did not continue to use Dark Tiger Arm and Divine Dragon Arm. With countless people watching, Longao naturally wouldn't use the God-slaying mirror or God-sealing pearl. In the end, Longao decided to use the blood-sucking manic blade and slashed at Miao Cheng. The 8 styles of blood drinking. The first style was Yellow Spring's 9 strikes. The second style was Heart-devouring ice. The third style was Raging Flame Sea. The fourth style was World-extinguishing saber light. The fifth style was Myriad Bones devouring soul. With Longao's current strength, he was unable to cultivate the last 3 styles. But even the first 5 moves were not to be underestimated. Fight fire with fire. Miao Cheng used the flame sect's martial skill. Raging flames incinerate the heavens, while Longao directly chose the third move of the 8 styles of drinking blood, Raging Sea of Flames. The 2 moves were different. The Sea of Flames that Longao used was to pour all his power into the blood-sucking blade. With the help of the blood-sucking blade's slaughter, he condensed the so-called flaming blade light. When the blade light arrived, Miaocheng didn't dodge at all. He used his body to resist the blade light. Under normal circumstances, if Miaocheng didn't dodge, he would be cut in half by the blade light. But the current situation was completely different. With the help of raging flames incinerate the heavens, Miaocheng's physical defense doubled in an instant. He could even resist the blade light. One had to admit that Miaocheng was indeed a genius. Because the flame sect's raging flames incinerate the heavens wasn't so big. After Miaocheng's careful processing, its power had increased by several times. The blade light didn't successfully kill his opponent. Longao was also stunned. Did he have to use Sorrow of Heaven and Earth? Longao was full of confidence. Once he used his self-created martial skill, Sorrow of Heaven and Earth, he could completely suppress the raging flames, incinerate the heavens, and kill Miaocheng. At this moment, Longao was full of confidence. If he used Sorrow of Heaven and Earth, he could defeat anyone under the Nothingness realm. However, as long as he didn't use Sorrow of Heaven and Earth, it wouldn't be easy to kill a high-level Tao ancestor, or even a peak Tao ancestor. This was the gap between the realms. Because of this, Longao knew very well that unless his cultivation officially broke through the Tao ancestor realm, he could never hit his target and become the real number 1 person under the Nothingness realm. Tao ancestor realm. Retreating 10 steps, just when everyone was wondering what Longao wanted to do, 12 huge pythons suddenly appeared beside Longao. Each python had 2 heads, a cyan blue head and a crimson red head. Icefire 2-headed python? Everyone was gobsmacked when they saw the appearance of 12 Icefire 2-headed pythons at Longao's side. If it was just one Icefire 2-headed python of Earth Emperor realm, then it would be fine. However, 12 Icefire 2-headed pythons had appeared together. Not to mention others, even Miaocheng was extremely shocked. However, things had come to this point. Even if he didn't want to fight, he had to fight. In fact, Miaocheng didn't take the 12 Icefire 2-headed pythons seriously at all. In Miaocheng's opinion, even if the 12 earthly royal realm spiritual beasts joined forces, they would still be no match for him. Was Longao out of his mind? At this moment, Longao directly issued an order. The 12 corpse pythons all moved out and shot towards Miaocheng. The bodies of the 12 corpse pythons were incomparably huge. If they were connected together, they were like moving hills. The scene was very shocking. Seeing the 12 Icefire 2-headed pythons shooting towards Miaocheng, everyone was extremely shocked. Because no one knew where Longao got these earthly royal realm spiritual beasts and why they were so obedient. 12 Icefire 2-headed pythons at the earthly royal realm were equivalent to 12 earthly royal realm martial artists. Once they joined forces, they could almost wipe out anyone below the Tao ancestor realm. Miaocheng didn't dodge at all. His strong confidence made Miaocheng rush out like an arrow. Before he arrived, the powerful flame force had already pressed down fiercely. It covered the sky and the earth like the rolling water of the Yangtze River. After all, a Tao ancestor was a Tao ancestor. Miaocheng could almost slaughter the 12 Icefire 2-headed pythons with the raging flames burning the sky. However, after a few rounds, Miaocheng was shocked to find that no matter how he dealt with the 12 giant pythons, they seemed to be unkillable. Unkillable? Miaocheng couldn't figure out why he couldn't kill the 12 giant pythons. Miaocheng didn't believe that the 12 giant pythons were unkillable. He rushed out again. However, at this moment, Miaocheng was drowned by the 12 Icefire 2-headed pythons. With a roar, Miaocheng fiercely avoided the siege of the 12 Icefire 2-headed pythons and shot towards Longao. As the saying goes, shoot the horse before shooting the man. Capture the leader before capturing the bandits. Miaocheng was not a fool. He knew very well that as long as he could kill Longao, the 12 Icefire 2-headed pythons would not be a problem. Chapter 247. Now that things had come to this point, Longao certainly knew that this battle had to end. Either you die or I die. In fact, Longao also knew very well that the 12 pythons could not kill Miao Qing at all. This was the gap between their realms, which could not be made up by other things. Longao and Miao Qing fought again. Under such circumstances, it was simply impossible for Longao to kill Miao Qing with his strength. Regarding this point, everyone clearly saw it. But they had to admit that Longao's strength was also very strong. With the earthly emperor realm, he could contend with a Tao ancestor warrior. This alone was enough for Longao to look down on his peers. Sorrow of heaven and earth. A cold voice came out of Longao's mouth. Just when everyone did not know what Longao wanted to do, Longao spun quickly with himself as the center. Seeing Longao use sorrow of heaven and earth again, Huatong, who had just seen Longao obliterate the void soul, was shocked. He did not dare to stay for a moment and turned to leave. Huatong, do you want to leave? Looking at the Xia army that suddenly appeared in front of him, Huatong's face was gloomy to the extreme. It was as ugly as it could get, because in this situation, if he couldn't leave in time, it would be unrealistic for him to leave after Longao killed Miao Qing. Get lost. You're dead. Xia Jun obviously did not intend to let Huatong go. This time, they entered the Scarlet Sky World to participate in the so-called 9-state storm battle. Xia Jun and the other two did not want to completely fall out with Huatong, but Huatong did not know what was good for him and kept causing trouble for them. Everyone chose to watch the battle between the two sides. Even the disciples of Flame Sect were watching from afar and did not want to help at all. What a joke. Even senior brother Miao Qing and senior brother Huatong were caught in the battle and could not extricate themselves. Even if they went to help, what else could they do except die in vain? Longao's body exploded with a powerful aura of heaven and earth, directly locking onto Miao Qing. It formed a massive tornado, not giving Miao Qing any chance to escape, directly sweeping him in. Inside the tornado, Miao Qing discovered that his strength had been reduced by half. What kind of concept was this? Miao Qing, as long as you can borrow my sorrow of heaven and earth, I will let you go. Everyone could only see the huge tornado, but they couldn't see the battle inside the tornado. However, everyone was completely stunned by Longao's move. It was a move that could shock the heavens and make ghosts and gods weep. Heaven and earth grieve? Hearing the name of the move that Longao mentioned, how could Miao Qing not know the meaning of this move? Heaven and earth mourn. Didn't that mean that when this move was used, the heaven and earth would be in tragedy? Although he was shocked to the extreme, Miao Qing still didn't place Longao in his eyes. Could this be the martial skill that Huatong was so afraid of, the one that could swallow the soul of nothingness? Humph. A soul was still a soul. How could it be compared to the strength of the main body? Because of this, Miao Qing didn't speak any nonsense. He soared into the sky, forcibly breaking through the aura of heaven and earth. He clenched his palm into a fist and fiercely punched towards Longao. Heaven and earth mourn. Once used, the heaven and earth would be in tragedy, let alone a person. Longao's mouth curled into a sneer. His body rotated faster and faster. In the end, Longao's body couldn't be seen as he merged with the aura of heaven and earth. Miao Qing was shocked when his fist missed. He didn't dare to be careless. As if he sensed something, Miao Qing instantly turned around. However, it was too late because Longao's fist had already fiercely smashed towards him. Miao Qing jumped in fright. He was very clear that if this fist landed on him, even if he didn't die, he would become an idiot. He didn't dare to hesitate in the slightest. He leaned to the side, thinking that he had dodged. However, Longao's fist didn't land on Miao Qing's head. Instead, it landed on his shoulder. With a muffled groan, Miao Qing endured the pain from his shoulder and also fiercely punched out. This time, Longao didn't choose to dodge. Instead, he also punched out. The two of them were clearly going to meet force with force. When the two fists collided, both of them took a step back. Longao was also a bit stunned. He had never imagined that Miao Qing would not only be able to take his fist head-on, but even be able to force him back 3 steps. If it was just an ordinary fist, then it would be fine. However, Longao was very clear just how powerful his divine dragon arm was. He didn't look down on Miao Cheng. As expected of a super expert ranked second on the wind cloud list, Longao was certain that with Miao Cheng's current strength, he could fight Dugubai to a draw. He might even be slightly stronger than Dugubai. Although he appreciated Miao Cheng very much, an enemy was an enemy. Being kind to the enemy was being cruel to oneself. Longao didn't seem to show any mercy. His divine dragon arm fiercely punched out again. Heaven and earth mourned. The chi of heaven and earth fiercely suppressed Miao Cheng. To a large extent, Miao Cheng's strength had been restricted. In this case, Longao's strength seemed to have surpassed Miao Cheng's. He couldn't accept it. He couldn't accept it. He couldn't accept it. Miao Cheng was suppressed by the chi of heaven and earth. Although he had strength, he couldn't use it. His endless unwillingness turned into anger. He kept roaring to the sky. All the spectators were a little surprised when they heard the roar in the tornado. After all, Miao Cheng was ranked second on the wind cloud list in Tianzhou. He was a famous super expert in the whole Tianzhou. However, such a super expert was defeated by a young man whose name was unknown. What was wrong with this world? It was simply crazy. In the tornado, Miao Cheng, who was suppressed by the chi of heaven and earth, seemed to be in despair. As a super expert ranked second on the wind cloud list, he was at the peak of the Tao ancestor realm. Now, he was defeated by a little earthly emperor. No matter what others thought of him, he looked down on himself. Looking at Longao's fists smashing towards him, Miao Cheng seemed to have given up resisting. There was no doubt that Longao poured all his strength into the divine dragon arm. Miao Cheng would be smashed into pieces by this punch. However, when Longao's fists were less than half a meter away from Miao Cheng's body, Miao Cheng suddenly sneered. His body suddenly burst out with a power that could destroy the world. Self-explosion? Longao never expected that Miao Cheng would choose to self-explode at this time. Because self-explosion meant something to a warrior. He knew very well that once a warrior chose to self-explode, not only would his body be destroyed, but even his soul would disappear completely. The power of self-explosion of a Tao ancestor warrior was obvious. Longao certainly didn't dare to take it head-on. He immediately turned around and prepared to leave. However, Miao Cheng, who had been prepared, wouldn't give Longao a chance. He hugged Longao tightly. His meaning was clear. He chose to die together with Longao. Chapter 248. Miao Cheng was not stupid. Even if he chose to self-detonate, he would take Longao down with him. The aura of heaven and earth disappeared, and so did the tornado. When the two of them appeared in front of the crowd, everyone's expression changed greatly. Regardless of the consequences, they all fled in all directions, not caring to continue watching the show. No one had expected that Miao Cheng would choose to self-detonate in the end. It should be known that the self-detonation of a peak Tao ancestor was enough to shatter everything. No one was willing to die, and even more so, no one was willing to be implicated. In the blink of an eye, the previously crowded scene instantly became desolate and cheerless. Hua Tang, Xia Jun, and Dugu Bai looked at the two of them in a daze. Taking advantage of this moment, Hua Tang took a big stride forward and disappeared without a trace. Under normal circumstances, Hua Tang would not be able to escape at all. However, the current situation was different. After all, Miao Cheng had chosen to self-detonate, but he was holding on to Longao tightly. Once Longao was unable to break free, they could only perish together. Just as Dugu Bai and Miao Cheng were about to save him, Longao suddenly roared and stopped. Brother Dugu, Brother Xia, quickly leave this place. I have a way to leave. Quickly. Longao was a miraculous youth. In just a few months, he had grown to such a level. Sometimes, the two of them found it hard to imagine the miracle that had happened to Longao. Longao was also a youth who could create miracles. Dugubai and Miao Cheng made the most difficult decision in their lives. They took a deep look at Longao. In the end, they chose to leave because they did not want to be a burden to Longao. Everyone had left. Not a single one was left. Ha ha ha, Longao. I have to admit that your talent and strength are enough to look down on your peers. Once you grow up, you will definitely be able to sweep across the 9 provinces. However, you no longer have that chance. Sweep across the 9 provinces. Even if Miao Cheng was unwilling to admit it, he was still very clear that Longao's talent was enough to look down on his peers and look down on the 9 provinces. It was precisely because of this that even if Miao Cheng were to die, he would drag someone down with him. This was Miao Cheng's heart. It was precisely because of this heart that Miao Cheng's path of martial arts in this life was actually destined. It had to be said that Miao Cheng's attitude had changed. Miao Cheng's aura became more and more terrifying. A normal martial artist wouldn't choose to self-destruct, even if it meant death. The reason was simple. Once a martial artist chose to self-destruct, not only would their body be destroyed, but even their soul would be destroyed by the world. In the Sky Martial Continent, all martial artists believed in the existence of the reincarnation Tao. After a person died, their soul would enter the reincarnation Tao and reincarnate. No one knew whether reincarnation was real or not, but more people chose to believe it. What should he do? Feeling Miao Cheng's aura growing stronger and stronger, Longao knew that once Miao Cheng really self-destructed, even he would die without a doubt. There was no chance of survival. Longao used all the strength in his body to try and break free from Miao Cheng's hands. But at this moment, Miao Cheng had already put all his eggs in one basket. He wanted to perish together with Longao. How could he let go so easily? Moreover, Miao Cheng had already reached the critical point and could self-destruct at any time. The self-destruction of a peak Tao ancestor martial artist, physical body and soul. The explosive power was quite terrifying. Otherwise, everyone wouldn't have fled just now as if they had seen the end of the world. There was no other way. Longao couldn't break free from Miao Cheng's hands at all. He could only circulate all the strength in his body and use heaven and earth sorrow again. Self-created martial technique, heaven and earth sorrow. Longao hoped to use the self-created martial technique, heaven and earth sorrow, to forcibly break free from Miao Cheng's hands. In other words, he had no time. Life and death depended on this. With himself as the center, Longao instantly began to spin and crazily absorb the spiritual chi of heaven and earth around him, forming a huge tornado, enveloping both of them again. Heaven and earth sorrow. Under the suppression of the powerful aura of heaven and earth, Miao Cheng finally let go of Longao. Without any hesitation, Longao turned around and shot forward at the fastest speed in his life. But at this time, Miao Cheng's body had already exploded, together with his soul. The power was terrifying. It scattered in all directions and directly drowned Longao. If the aura released by heaven and earth's sorrow hadn't helped Longao resist 50% of the power of the self-destruction, it was believed that this alone would be enough to take Longao's life. Heaven and earth's sorrow, together with Miao Cheng's self-destruction, darkened the world and reversed the sun and the moon. Tianzhou, Ghost King sect. Mother Gu, am I really not father's daughter? Until now, Aoshue seemed to be unable to accept this fact. After all, her father, who had loved her for 20 years, suddenly told her that she was not his biological daughter. No matter who encountered this, they would not be able to accept it. Mother Gu, Aoshue's wet nurse since she was young. Because Aoshue's mother had left when Aoshue was 3 years old, her whereabouts were still unknown. Seeing the sadness on her young lady's face, Mother Gu's heart ached. She cried, "Young lady, how could you not be master's daughter? I saw you being born with my own eyes. I shouldn't say this, but now that things have come to this, I can only tell you." Chapter 249. Father, I don't care if you want to dominate Tianzhou. I just want to ask you one thing. Why do you always want to deal with Longao? Regarding this point, Aoshue still couldn't figure it out. Why couldn't everyone get along? On one side was her father, and on the other was her beloved. No matter who was in trouble, she couldn't accept it. Aoshue, since things have come to this point, I won't hide it from you. The reason why I want to deal with Longao is because of Golden Sun Sect. Golden Sun Sect? Hearing that her father was actually helping Golden Sun Sect, Aoshue seemed to find it hard to accept this fact. However, Longao and Golden Sun sect were already like fire and water. In the future, they would definitely fight to the death. Aoshue, Tianzhou is jointly controlled by 6 sections. However, it's not easy for me to dominate Tianzhou. I can only choose to divide the other 5 sects and reap the benefits. Ghost King Ao Tian was indeed the strongest master of Ghost King's sect in 100 years. Just this scheming alone was unparalleled. First, he joined forces with the Sound of Thunder sect and used Longao to make Golden Sun sect and Blood Sea sect kill each other. Then, he secretly formed an alliance with Golden Sun sect to deal with the other sections. In this way, the other 5 sects would be in chaos first, and then Ghost King's sect could go out and clean up the mess. It had to be said that Ghost King Ao Tian's ambition was very big. He actually wanted to dominate Tianzhou. People were like this. As the saying goes, people's hearts are insatiable. If Ghost King's sect really dominated Tianzhou, would Ao Tian stop? If he wanted to dominate Tianzhou, then he would want to dominate Zhuzhou and become the ruler of Tianwu continent. Over time, not only would Ghost King's sect not be able to achieve it, but it would also be counterproductive. Aoshue, father wants to ask you something. Nodding her head, Aoshue sat there quietly, looking so lonely. If I kill Longao, what will you do? There was nothing strange about it, as if this matter had nothing to do with her. Because of this, the more Aoshue was like this, the more Ao Tian felt uncertain. Father, since I was young, I have never received any love, including fatherly love. Hearing this, Ao Tian's body suddenly trembled. But Ao Tian didn't speak in the end. It was Longao gave me my first love. It was from him that I feel that I can be loved. I don't deny that you love me, father, but it's too little. Sighing deeply, Ao Tian still didn't speak. If Longao dies, I will die with him. If he doesn't abandon me, I will follow him in life and death. To die's twos to s after repeating it, proud Heaven realized that his daughter seemed to have really grown up. Standing up, Ao Tian said, Father knows what to do. I have already made the arrangements. I believe that in a short period of time, Longao will not have the time to come back. Wait until I have settled the 5 great sects and become the ruler of Tianzhou. Aoshue did not have the slightest bit of resentment as she watched her father gradually disappear into the distance. She only raised her head and looked at the distant Crimson Province. Miao Cheng's self-detonation had turned the area within 1,000 meters into a barren wasteland. Miao Cheng's strength. Even if he chose to self-destruct, it was impossible to create such a scene. In the end, Longao's sorrow of the heavens and earth only used half of its power. Looking at the ruins, Xiajun and Dugu Bai's faces were gloomy to the extreme. Brother Dugu, Brother Long didn't really die with Miao Cheng, did he? Dugu Bai didn't speak, but it was because he didn't speak that Xiajun knew that Dugu Bai chose to remain silent, which meant that he agreed with his point of view. Xiajun was a little sad. He seemed to want to say something, but he didn't say it in the end. As friends, we shouldn't abandon him. Brother Dugu, everything depends on the situation. Previously, Miao Cheng was holding on to Brother Long without letting go. Given Miao Cheng's strength and the situation of imminent peril, even if we rushed up, we wouldn't be able to do anything other than perish together with Miao Cheng. Although he said so, without facing life and death with Longao, Dugu Bai couldn't get over himself. Friends could enjoy happiness together, but they could also go through hardships together. If they ran away in the face of danger, then what was the use of having such friends? Brother Dugu, the person who caused all this is Huateng. We have to avenge Brother Long. In a few hours, the Battle of the 9 States will begin. At that time, we really have to avenge Brother Long, Dugu Bai nodded. He had always been unwilling to do so. In his view, no matter how incompatible they were in Tianzhou, they were still representing Tianzhou in the Battle of the 9 States. But Huateng kept causing trouble for them. Now, he even killed Brother Long. He had to settle this score with Huateng. Longao was dead. Whether it was Dugu Bai or Xiajun, although they didn't want to believe it, the truth was the truth. It could never be changed. Both of them knew very well that with Miao Cheng's strength, once he chose to self-destruct and die with him, Longao's chances of survival were almost zero. Such a genius had died just like that. Both of them were a little sad. Let's go and find Huateng. Just like that, Dugu Bai couldn't even wait for the Battle of the Nine States. He wanted to find Huateng to avenge Longao. Scarlet Sky World. Huateng was really scared. This time, he thought that he could use the power of Nihility Soul and Miao Chung to eliminate Longao, Dugu Bai, and Xia Jun in one fell swoop. But now, not only did he fail to kill the three of them, even Nihility Soul and Miao Chung died. Although Longao and Miao Chung had perished together, Huateng was very clear that with Longao dead, Dugu Bai and Xia Jun would definitely not let him go. Huateng knew that with his current strength, he was no match for the two. If he chose to stay, he would only die. It was because of this that Huateng didn't choose to continue participating in the Battle of the Nine States. He was ready to leave. But what made Huateng angry was that outside the Scarlet Sky World, he was surrounded by the experts of the 9 great clans. The Battle of the Nine States would last for 3 months. In other words, he couldn't leave the Scarlet Sky World at all for 3 months. Was he going to die here just like that? Huateng was very unwilling. If he had known, he wouldn't have dealt with Longao and the other two. With Nihility Soul, he could almost defeat everyone in the Battle of the Nine States. It wouldn't be a problem for him to take first place in the Battle of the Nine States. But now, it was too late. It was useless to say anything. He clenched his fists tightly. As the young master of the Flame Sect, he had fallen to this point. Strange placement was a joke. Huateng could completely predict that if this matter was spread out, he would definitely be laughed at. What should he do? In the end, Huateng had no choice but to hide temporarily. When the Battle of the Nine States was over, he could leave without anyone knowing. Chapter 250. Scarlet Sky World. Longao lay quietly in the huge, deep pit. After an unknown period of time, Longao made a sound of pain and slowly opened his eyes. Am I dead? Huh. Have I already gone to hell? Longao knew very well that according to Miao Cheng's strength at the peak of the Tao ancestor level, once he chose to self-destruct and die with him, there was no chance for him to survive. Because of this, Longao thought that he was dead and his soul had entered hell. After a few minutes, Longao found that something was wrong because he found that he was still alive, but seriously injured. He felt a heart-wrenching pain when he moved a little. Not dead? I'm not dead? Longao was pleasantly surprised because he never thought that he was not dead. He thought that he and Miao Chung had perished together. However, Longao did not dare to act rashly because as long as he moved a little, he would feel pain all over his body, as if someone was holding a knife and cutting his body. Long Fu called him? With curiosity, Longao's soul communicated with the dragon seal and entered the space of the dragon seal. Long Fu, did you help me? No, master. You were too reckless this time. Fortunately, the martial arts you created multiplied the aura of heaven and earth and suppressed half of the power of self-destruction. Otherwise, I believe you would be dead now. So that's how it was. Longao did not seem to think that the aura of heaven and earth could suppress half of the power of self-destruction of a Tao ancestor. What kind of concept was that? I was really reckless this time. Longao certainly knew that he was very impulsive this time. Luck played a part. Otherwise, as Long Fu said, he would have been dead by now. From the beginning to the end, Longao never thought that Miao Chung would choose to self-destruct. Master, your injuries are very serious. According to my calculation, it will take at least a month to recover, so you'd better not wander around during this time. Once you encounter a strong enemy, I'm afraid something will happen. Longao nodded his head. Regarding his own injuries, Longao naturally knew clearly. In any case, he was already in the Crimson Sky World. He believed that if there were no accidents, the Battle of the Nine States would have officially begun at this moment. If he encountered a strong opponent, the consequences would be unimaginable. In fact, Longao was not too worried in his heart because he was confident that as long as he did not encounter a Tao ancestor martial artist, he would be able to deal with all difficulties. It should be known that Longao still had 12 corpse python slaves, each of which was at the earthly emperor realm. The 12 corpse python slaves could completely wipe out anyone below the Tao ancestor realm if they joined forces. Lying in the deep pit, Longao didn't move and just quietly recuperated. Big brother, what should we do now? Of course, we'll find a place to hide first. We'll come out after the Battle of the Nine Regions officially ends. At this time, Longao heard three people coming from not far away. The three were human kings. They were experts, but for the Battle of the Nine Regions, human kings were nothing. After all, there were a lot of earthly emperors and Tao ancestors. The three were human kings from the Wang family of the Crimson Province. They were three brothers. The eldest was Wang Bo, the second was Wang Tong, and the third was Wang Lin. The three brothers were greedy for life and afraid of death. They didn't want to enter the Crimson Sky world to participate in the Battle of the Nine Regions. However, due to the pressure from their families, they finally participated. Although they participated, the three brothers didn't intend to compete for the rankings. In their opinion, as long as they could leave the Crimson Sky world safely, it was more important than anything else. Bullsh *T rankings and Bullsh *T face had nothing to do with them. The three brothers, who were walking towards the deep pit, suddenly saw Longao in the deep pit. They were shocked at first and immediately turned to leave in horror. But at this time, Wang Bo waved his hand and stopped his two brothers. He said in surprise, "Wait, didn't this person fight with Miao Chung and perish together?" "That's right, big brother." "What do you mean?" "Ha ha ha, the heavens are helping us. Miao Chung chose to self-destruct and perish together with this person. I didn't expect this person to survive. It's really a miracle. However, this person is so powerful. I can say with certainty that this person definitely has a treasure on him." Treasure? Hearing their big brother's words, no matter if it was Wang Bo or Wang Lin, their faces instantly revealed a greedy look. The three brothers turned around again and looked at Longao, who was in the deep pit. They chuckled and said, "Brother, are you okay? Get lost." How could Longao not know what the three were thinking? They wanted to take advantage of him. "Ha ha ha, you were still so arrogant when you were about to die. But boy, I really like your character." If it was the Longao from before, would the three of them dare to do this? If Longao wasn't injured, the three of them would probably run faster than rabbits when they saw Longao. The three Wang brothers saw that Longao was half dead. In their greed, they began to walk towards the deep pit step by step. After a few hours of recuperation, Longao felt that he was much better. However, he still couldn't make a move. Otherwise, not only would he not be able to kill the three of them, he might even be injured. At that time, it would be really troublesome. Longao's eyes were cold. He sneered and said, "Aren't you afraid that I will kill you? You want to kill us?" Ha 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 ha. Hearing Longao's words, the three of them laughed crazily at the same time. It was as if they had heard the funniest thing in the world. A person who was struggling on the verge of death actually dared to say that he wanted to kill the three of them. This person either had water in his head or had his head kicked by a donkey. The three of them were very curious. What gave this person such courage? In this situation, the three of them didn't need to work together. Any one of them could easily kill this person. "Kill him for me." Wang Bo didn't continue to hesitate because the Battle of the Nine States had officially begun. Who knew if and when they would encounter a strong enemy, so the sooner the better. After dealing with the person in the deep pit, they were going to find a place to hide. When the Crimson Sky world opened, they would leave here. Wang Lin, as the weakest of the three brothers, walked towards the deep pit step by step. His face was full of contempt and greed. He asked, "Boy, what treasure do you have on you? Hand it over, and maybe we will let you go." Humph. Longao believed that as long as he handed over the treasure, the first person to kill him would be this shameless person in front of him. Wang Lin didn't continue to talk nonsense. He quickened his pace and walked towards the deep pit. As soon as he entered the deep pit, before Wang Lin could react, a scream rang out. Then, Wang Lin's body flew out. Chapter 251. Both Wang Bo and Wang Tong's faces changed when they saw their third brother flying towards them. Before the three of them could figure out what was going on, a giant python corpse demon appeared and stared at the three of them with its cold eyes. They had witnessed the battle between Longao and Miao Chung, so they were familiar with the ice-fire two-headed python. They roared in horror and did not dare to stay any longer. Kill. A cold voice came from Longao's mouth. The giant python corpse demon did not show any mercy and swallowed the 3 people in one bite. For the earthly emperor python to kill 3 human king realm martial artists was simply a simple matter. Longao let out a long sigh of relief. Until now, he was still afraid. If it wasn't for Long Fu refining the 12 giant python corpse slaves in time, he believed that he would have been killed by these 3 shameless things. 12 earthly sovereign bodyguards. This was not something that could be casually made up. Longao took a deep breath and sat up with difficulty. He sat cross-legged and entered a state of cultivation. 1 month later, Longao's injuries had healed 99% after a month of cultivation. His strength had returned to its peak state. Even if he encountered a peak earthly sovereign, he could fight and kill him. Confidence. Longao was full of confidence. Although the mutual destruction this time was extremely thrilling, there were still some benefits. That was, he had broken through the primary Earth Emperor realm not long ago, and finally continued to advance to the intermediate Earth Emperor realm. Although there was only 1 level difference between the intermediate Earthly Sovereign realm and the primary Earthly Sovereign realm, the gap between the two was huge. Longao knew that his strength would increase by 1/5 when he reached the intermediate Earthly Sovereign realm from the primary Earthly Sovereign realm. All aspects would be improved. The intermediate Earthly Sovereign realm was only 2 levels away from the peak Earthly Sovereign realm. Longao knew that once he reached the peak Earthly Sovereign realm, he could try to reach the Tao Ancestor realm. The Tao Ancestor realm was the peak of the Transformation realm. It was also the threshold of the Void realm. Many Tao Ancestor warriors were stuck at this level. They could not break through the bottleneck and reach the Void realm in their lifetime. Longao did not go looking for Dugu Bai and Xiajun. After all, the Crimson Sky world was very big. Who knew where to look? This time, he entered the Crimson Sky world and participated in the Battle of the 9 States because he wanted to get a good ranking. In addition to winning glory for the Tianzhou state, the biggest reason was for himself. It had to be known that the Battle of the 9 Provinces was a gathering of the strongest people of the Martial Heaven continent's younger generation. Once they were able to stand out, their names would truly shake the 9 provinces. Longao didn't care much about reputation, but he didn't reject it either. Just as Longao had killed more than 30 people, which meant that he had seized 30 soul badges, he frowned. That was because he could sense that there was a faintly discernible aura behind him that was firmly locked onto him. Longao did not act rashly because he could clearly sense that as long as he moved, the other party would definitely make a move. No matter what, he still had not figured out the other party's strength. Longao could clearly sense the other party's powerful aura. So he said, "Since you're here, why don't you come out and meet me?" Clap, clap, clap. Very good. Among my peers, there are only a few people who can discover me. You are the most powerful one. My name is Long Patian. If I remember correctly, you should be Longao, right? Long Patian? Longao was very surprised when he heard the other party introduce himself. This name was not unfamiliar to him at all. Long Patian, the #1 person on the Crimson Sky world list, was also known as the #1 person on the 9 states list. He was a warrior at the peak of the Tao Ancestor realm and was known as the #1 person under the Void realm. He was very powerful. The 9 great families of the Crimson Sky world were the Wang family, the Hao family, the Duanmu family, the Long family, the Miao family, the Wei family, the Zhou family, the Feng family, and the Yin family. Although the Long family was not the strongest, they had the most potential and the most hope to reach the 3rd level. Long Patian was not only the pride of the Long family, but also the pride of the Crimson Sky world. Longao never thought that he would meet Long Patian, the #1 person on the Crimson Sky world list, and also the #1 person on the 9 states list. Longao, I have seen the life and death battle between you and Miao Cheng. I have to admit that you are very powerful. You were able to survive the explosion. Just this point alone makes me inferior to you. Longao was even more surprised when he heard Long Potion's words. He did not say anything because until now, he did not know what Long Patian meant. However, he admired Long Patian. After all, With Long Potion's strength and status, he admitted that he was inferior to Longao. This was something that no one else could do. Longao, although we are from different Long families in the end, we are all part of a Long family. Longpatian, what do you want to say? Please say it. Longao did not like to be wishy-washy. He knew very well that Longpatian would not come looking for him for no reason. However, Longpatian did not say anything and just kept nagging. Longpatian smiled and said, "So you are a straightforward person. Since that is the case, I will get straight to the point. I have seen your strength just now, and I want to ask for your help." Longao did not agree because he did not know what Longpatian wanted him to help with. "Longao, I have come looking for you this time because I want you to work with me to take on someone. What do you think?" "Who?" "The second on the Crimson Sky world list, Tiango." Tiango was no stranger to Longao. In fact, there were 900 people on the 9 states world list, and it was impossible to remember everyone. However, Longao definitely remembered the top 3 on each state's world list. "Longpatian, if my guess is correct, you should have defeated Tiango back then. Do you need someone else's help with your strength?" Long Potion's expression changed when this was mentioned. He said helplessly, "Longao, you don't know. If it was just Tiango alone, I wouldn't be afraid at all. However, Tiango is no longer the same as before. I don't know where he found a strange woman and cultivated a secret art. Once the two of them combine, their strength will increase exponentially. With my current strength, I am no match for Tiango." Strength increase exponentially? Although he had never seen the strength of the Heavenly Hound and the strange woman, Longao was certain that the strength that the two of them unleashed together was actually the same as the 9 needles sealing god that he had used. No wonder Longpatian wanted to find him. There was no need to guess. Longao knew what Longpatian was trying to say. Tiango's increase in strength made Longpatian feel threatened, so he wanted to find a way to get rid of Tiango. Should he help him or not? At the end of the day, he had no relationship with Longpatian. Why should he help him? Moreover, Tiango and the strange woman were so powerful. If he was not careful, he would lose his life. Chapter 252. In fact, in Longao's heart, he did not want to agree to this. It was not worth provoking the powerful Heavenly Hound for a person he just met. Longpatian seemed to be able to see Longao's thoughts. He said with a smile, "If you help me kill Heavenly Hound, I can promise you one thing." "What do you mean?" Longao was very curious. He did not know why Longpatian chose him and was so confident. Although he won the battle with Miao Chung by luck, it did not mean anything. "Longao, let's be frank. If you help me this time, I will definitely help you in the future. What do you think?" Longao did not choose to answer immediately. Instead, he lowered his head and began to ponder, thinking about what Longpatian had just said to him. Longpatian, a warrior at the peak of the Tao ancestor realm, ranked first on the Crimson Province list and was famous throughout the 9 states. Longao knew very well that Longpatian and Miao Chung were both at the peak of the Tao ancestor realm, but the gap between the two was not too small. It could be said that Longpatian was half a step into the Void Disaster realm and could enter the Void realm at any time. It was not a bad thing to let such a person owe him a favor. What's more, he and this person were from a Long family. After thinking about it, Longao was ready to help. He nodded and said, "Okay." Longpatian was not surprised. He said calmly, "Longao, I know you are very powerful, but I still want to remind you that you must be careful when you meet Heavenly Hound." Longao certainly would not be careless in the slightest. As the number 1 person in the Crimson Province, Longpatian was so afraid of Heavenly Hound and Miao Chung. It was obvious how terrifying their strength was. "Longpatian, I want to ask, where are Heavenly Hound and Miao Chung now?" "I don't know." "You don't know?" Hearing that Longpatian did not know where Heavenly Hound and Miao Chung were, Longao was depressed to the extreme. He wanted to deal with them, but now he did not even know where they were. Was this not ridiculous? "Longao, although I don't know where Heavenly Hound and Miao Chung are, I know that they must have gone to a place." "Where?" Longao was very surprised. He didn't know why the Longao was so confident. Could it be that the heavenly hound had already told him his thoughts? Longao, do you know where the Scarlet Sky World is? The location of the 9 prefectures storm battle? Wrong. The Crimson Sky Realm is an ancient battlefield. It is rumored that there are many tombs of warriors here. Everyone wants to get the inheritance of masters, but for so many years, no one has been able to discover the secret here. The primordial battlefield, the place where countless experts had fallen. Longao understood why so many people wanted to obtain an expert's legacy. At any rate, based on one's own cultivation speed and talent, it would be extremely difficult to reach a certain level. However, it was a different story after receiving an expert's legacy. Longao knew very well what it meant to receive the inheritance. It could be said that if one received the inheritance of a void supremacy, then no matter how hard one worked, one's destination would be limited. That was the void supremacy. Ordinary warriors hoped to get the inheritance, but some warriors didn't pay attention to the inheritance because they wanted to go further. In the Crimson Sky Realm, there is a place where the tomb of a master was found. Because of this, Heavenly Hound would enter the Crimson Sky Realm every once in a while, hoping to get the inheritance of a master. Longao smiled helplessly. Heavenly Hound was really a persevering person. You mean that Heavenly Hound and Miao Cheng will go to this place to have a look while participating in the 9 prefecture storm battle? Nodding, Longao Cheng seemed very confident and said, "It's not a coincidence, but a necessity. So as long as we go to this place, we will definitely find Heavenly Hound." Things had come to this point. Longao knew that he had no other choice. When do we set off? Immediately. Nodding, Longao didn't hesitate. The two of them went to a certain place in the Crimson Sky Realm. On the way, seeing Longao's hesitant expression, Longao asked doubtfully, "Longao, if you have something to say, just say it. You don't have to be like this." Awkwardly smiling, Long Patian smiled and said, "Longao, I've already seen the life and death battle between you and Miao Cheng. Furthermore, I've heard them say that the martial skill you used was created by yourself. Is that true?" Longao didn't want to hide this matter. Seeing Longao nod his head in acknowledgement, Long Potion's heart skipped a beat, because he clearly knew what it meant to create a powerful martial skill by oneself. Just this point alone made Longao very clear that he was not as good as Longao. "Longao, your talent is the most powerful I have ever seen. If there is no accident, once your matter reaches the ears of the third-grade Long family, they will soon come looking for you." Third-grade Long family? Regarding the Long family that Long Patian spoke of, Longao naturally would not feel the slightest bit unfamiliar. Long family was a famous superpower in the Tianwu continent. The 6 great sects of the Tianzhou couldn't compare to the Long family. Just the Dragon Valley alone was enough to look down on the continent. Yes, it is the third-grade Long family. Long Patian thought for a moment and said, "Longao, I don't need to tell you how powerful the Long family is. Let's not talk about the first-grade and second-grade Long families. Just the third-grade Long family's strength is not something we can imagine. It can be said that with your talent and potential, once you enter the third-grade Long family, you will definitely be heavily nurtured. Will the third-grade Long family think highly of us?" Longao was very clear that although the Long family had countless branches and a strict hierarchy, the higher-grade Long family had always looked down on the lower-grade Long families. Otherwise, why would the lower-grade Long family be unable to do anything? They would always be at the bottom. This was just like the Scarlet Flame Town's Long family. If it weren't for his rise, his family would still be a small family that could be casually bullied by any expert. When had the Long family ever cared about him? Seeming to be able to guess Long Ao's displeasure, Long Patian sighed deeply. "Long Ao, I know what you're thinking. I won't hide it from you. Back then, I was different from you. But now, I've thought it through. Only the fittest survive. This world is one where strength is respected. No one is willing to sympathize with the weak. They only worship the strong. Long family is powerful, but there are too many branches. If the Long family has misgivings about all the branches, then the Long family won't be far from its decline. This is the law of survival. Since we live in this world, we have to abide by this law of survival. Chapter 253. Survival of the Fittest. After listening to Long Potion's words, Longao's state of mind seemed to have changed. He had just broken through to the mid-level Earth Emperor realm, and now he had broken through to the high-level Earth Emperor realm. A breakthrough? Long Potion's heart was pounding hard. He seemed to be in disbelief. Although it was only a breakthrough, he knew what it meant. He had only said a few words, and Longao had comprehended it. Such talent was too terrifying. Longao, are you even human? Longao, who had smoothly broken through to the high-level Earth Emperor realm, was very depressed when he heard Long Potion's words. However, it was completely understandable. Long Potion must have been shocked by his sudden breakthrough. With a helpless smile, Longao said, "I was just lucky to break through." Looking at the innocent face beside him, as if he was forced to break through, Long Potion couldn't help but want to give him a good kick. Although he was surprised, Long Potion was not envious, jealous, or hateful. Because in his opinion, the stronger Longao was, the more help he could provide. People who envied others but did not want to break through themselves would never be able to reach the pinnacle of martial arts. With such talent, even in the third-grade Long family, you can definitely look down on your peers. Longao just smiled and didn't say anything. Longao, do you know the situation in Crimson Province? Shaking his head, Longao didn't know what Long Potion wanted to say, so he didn't ask. He knew that since Long Potion had already spoken, even if he didn't ask, he would still say it. Longao, Crimson Province is different from Tianzhou. There are 9 families ruling over it. The 9 families are the Wang family, Hao family, Duanmu family, Long family, Miao family, Wei family, Zhou family, Feng family, and Yin family. Long Potion continued, among the 9 families, my Long family's strength can only be considered as below average. It won't be easy for us to rise. What do you want? I want to form an alliance. With who? Longao was even more surprised. He didn't know why the Long family of Crimson Province would tell him if they wanted to form an alliance. He couldn't control the Long family or other forces. Longao thought of something and looked at Long Potion. Could it be that Long Potion wanted his family to ally with him? Longao, I believe you've already guessed it. That's right. What I mean is very simple. If our 2 families form an alliance, we'll definitely be able to develop quickly. It would be a lie to say that he didn't want to form an alliance. Longao was well aware of the strength of the Crimson Province's Long family. The Crimson Province's Long clan was a peak level 4 existence, only 1 step away from officially entering the ranks of level 3. If that was the case, why would they choose to ally with his clan? Long Potion, even if we agree, will your family agree? Longao didn't think that a high-grade clan would be willing to form an alliance with a low-grade clan. It was already good enough that they didn't discriminate. Long Potion seemed to have guessed that Longao would say this. He smiled and said, when I speak the truth, your family alone doesn't have the qualifications to form an alliance with mine. Hearing this, Longao wasn't angry at all. He knew that Long Potion was telling the truth. Because of this, Longao couldn't understand why Long Potion would say that they could form an alliance with his family. Longao, your talent and potential are the strongest I've ever seen. As long as you can grow, I can guarantee that you'll definitely become an overlord in the future. This alliance is my investment. My family and I will do our best to help your family. I just hope that when you soar in the future, you can take care of my family. How about it? Staring at Long Potion, Longao had to admit that Long Potion was indeed a genius. He even dared to make such an investment. Since things had already reached this point, Longao knew that he couldn't refuse. He nodded and said, it's a deal. It's a deal. Longao and Long Potion were both super geniuses in their respective families. Although they were juniors, their words carried more weight than anyone else's, including the heads of their families. Because of this, the 2 of them dared to form an alliance. Otherwise, even if they formed an alliance, wouldn't it be nonsense if their families were different? Longao and Longao's alliance was a cross-province alliance. After all, Tianzhou and Crimson provinces were very far apart. However, Longao knew very well that as the alliance began, their families would quickly enter a proper state. At that time, they would be able to develop. Longao had always wanted to see his family grow stronger. That way, he would be able to travel and gain strength without worry. Brother Long, if you want your family to grow stronger, remember that you must first obtain the approval of the Long family. Otherwise, your family will be stuck at rank 4 for the rest of your life and will never be able to reach rank 3. Why is that? Longao, you don't know. When our family breaks through rank 4 and reaches the peak of rank 4, the Long family will test us. Powerhouses are one thing, but more importantly, genius disciples. If they are not satisfied, the family will not be able to obtain their approval and will not be able to advance. So that's how it is. Longao, of course, understood the meaning behind Long Potion's words. In the end, if the family wanted to advance, they must first obtain the approval of the Long family. Otherwise, everything would be nonsense. If the family did not advance, it would mean that the family would not have the opportunity to enter the Dragon Valley, obtain a dragon companion, and become a dragon warrior. According to the rules of the Long family, only those who reached rank 3 would have the opportunity to enter the Dragon Valley. Entering the Dragon Valley and becoming a dragon warrior was the dream of every Long family disciple. The family must advance, Longao firmly told himself in his heart. Unknowingly, the two of them arrived at a valley surrounded by giant mountains. It was impossible to see the situation outside. In the valley, a gentle breeze blew and white clouds drifted, giving a very comfortable feeling. This is the place where the warrior's tomb is? That's right. Back then, a senior discovered the warrior's tomb here and attracted countless warriors. However, after so many years, no one else was able to discover the tomb. However, the Heavenly Hound did not give up and would come to take a look every once in a while. Yet another one who refused to give up. Thinking about it, Longao felt as if a lifetime had passed. Because if he had not persevered for 10 years, he believed that he would not be where he was today. In addition to talent, a martial artist also had to persevere. Longao had always believed in one sentence, and that was that one's efforts would always be rewarded. Looks like the Heavenly Hound is not here yet. Longao, I have already explained the situation to you. When the time comes, you must attack with all your strength. It's best if you can kill it in one blow and not give it any chance. Otherwise, we will be in big trouble. Chapter 254. Longao knew very well that Long Patian was very afraid of the Heavenly Hound. Longao was also looking forward to the Heavenly Hound's secret technique. Before the Heavenly Hound came, Longao began to look at the entire valley. It was surrounded by mountains on all sides, and the environment was beautiful. It didn't look like a tomb at all. As for the ancient war, it was more of a legend, because no one had witnessed it with their own eyes. However, he couldn't believe it completely. As the saying goes, there is no smoke without fire. Inside the dragon seal space, Long Fu, can you sense the warriors' tombs in this valley? Yes, no less than thousands. Longao was just asking casually, but when he heard Long Fu's words, his whole heart trembled. Thousands of years of warriors' tombs, didn't this already prove that the Scarlet Sky World was indeed an ancient battlefield, and the valley he was in had thousands of warriors' tombs? Overjoyed, Longao couldn't wait to say, Long Fu, if the dragon seal space absorbs the souls here. Before Longao finished speaking, Long Fu had already said, Master, the souls here have evolved for thousands of years, and their resentment is very strong. If it weren't for a treasure suppressing them, I believe that these souls would have already come out to harm the world. Hearing this, Longao was shocked. But one must know that the blood pool in the dragon seal space was the nemesis of refining souls. If even Long Fu couldn't restrain these souls, then he couldn't. Master, you should leave here as soon as possible. Nodding, how could he not know Long Fu's worries, but could he leave? Long Fu, do you know how to find these souls? Master, what do you want to do? Nothing, I'm just asking. Long Fu didn't doubt Longao's words. After thinking about it, he finally said, Master, the tomb is on the left. After getting the entrance, Longao left the dragon seal space and didn't tell Long Patian about it. Longao came to the location mentioned by Long Fu. Sure enough, there were some patterns on the wall. If one didn't look carefully, they wouldn't be able to see them. According to Long Fu, if one wanted to open the warrior's tomb, one only needed to drip his blood on the pattern. If it weren't for Long Fu being unable to refine these so-called souls, Long Ao really wanted to go in and take a look. The ancient war was earth-shattering, with countless casualties. Blood flowed like rivers, and corpses were everywhere. As one of the ancient battlefields, the Crimson Sky World was believed to have lost many powerful warriors. If he could refine these souls, wouldn't it be of great help to his cultivation? It would be a pity to give up on these souls. But between the soul and life, Long Ao still chose life in the end. Long Ao, what did you find? Shaking his head, Long Ao didn't mention it. Instead, he asked, will the heavenly hound not come? I don't dare to say for others, but I can guarantee that the heavenly hound will come. Every once in a while, the heavenly hound will enter the Scarlet Sky World and come here to find the ancient tomb. This time, the heavenly hound will not let go of this opportunity. Long Ao calculated the time. It had been a whole month since he entered the Scarlet Sky World. According to the rules of the 9 states battle of wind and cloud, it would last for a total of 3 months. During these 3 months, no one could easily leave the Scarlet Sky World. There was no other way. Since Long Ao had said so, Long Ao could only choose to continue waiting. Long Ao didn't know if it was a small world. In the end, he didn't wait for the heavenly hound, but his enemy Huateng. Coincidentally, Huateng couldn't leave the Scarlet Sky World and hid everywhere. But no matter where he went, he could always be found. In fact, according to Huateng's strength, even if he wasn't the strongest existence, he could at least survive. But now, Huateng didn't have any thoughts at all, because he was very afraid of encountering Xiajun and Dugubai. If this matter spread out, Huateng would definitely be laughed at. Long time no see. Huateng, how have you been? Looking at Long Ao and a stranger who suddenly appeared in front of him, Huateng let out a cry and asked in horror, You, are you a human or a ghost? Huateng was not sure whether Long Ao was alive or dead. Under normal circumstances, it was impossible for Long Ao to survive when Miaoqing blew himself up. But now, Long Ao was standing in front of him alive. Even if he was willing to admit it, the truth was in front of him, and he had to believe it. Was Long Ao a human or not? Huateng was completely panicking. Whether Long Ao was alive or dead, Long Ao had forced Miaoqing to blow himself up. Just this point alone was enough to prove Long Ao's strength. With his strength, could he contend against Long Ao? Huateng, why don't you come over and touch me and see if I'm a human or a ghost? Long Patian, who was standing on the side, didn't say anything. Unknowingly, Long Patian had blocked the entrance, cutting off Huateng's only way out. Long Patian had seen the battle between Long Ao and Miaoqing with his own eyes. Although he wasn't clear about the grudge between Huateng and Long Ao, as a friend, he had an obligation to help his friend. How could Huateng not know that another person was blocking the entrance? His face became even more gloomy, and it was as ugly as it could be. Long Ao, the grudge between us will be written off from now on. How about it? Under such circumstances, Huateng finally admitted defeat. Regardless of whether he would go against Long Ao in the future, Huateng was truly afraid now. Huateng naturally knew that he wasn't a match for Long Ao, a freak who could even force Miaoqing to blow himself up. Long Ao sneered. Originally, he didn't want to completely fall out with Flame Sect. However, Huateng kept causing trouble for him. If it weren't for his heaven and earth sorrow, he would have been dead by now. It was impossible for him to be standing here. Huateng, are you going to kill yourself, or do you need my help? Long Ao's meaning was very simple. That was, no matter what, he had to kill Huateng today. He had to cut the weeds and eliminate the roots, so that he would never have any future troubles. No matter what, Huateng's identity was there. If he let Huateng go this time, Long Ao could predict how much trouble he would have in the future. Miaoqing wasn't the strongest martial artist in Flame Sect. In Flame Sect, there were Disaster Realm martial artists, venerable realm martial artists, and even sovereign realm martial artists. If Huatang were to leave this place alive, not only him, but even his family would be in trouble. Longao, aren't you afraid that I'll blow myself up? A threat. Huatang had no other choice at this moment. He definitely couldn't win in a fight. He could only choose to scare the other party, hoping that Longao would be intimidated and let him go. Feeling that Huatang was just a joke, Longao didn't say anything and just looked at him coldly. Longao, if you kill me, Flame Sect won't let you go. Even your family will be annihilated. Chapter 255. Huatang's intention was very simple. He wanted to intimidate Longao and save his own life. However, Huatang had miscalculated one thing, and that was that the Long family was Longao's weakness, and no one could touch it. Huatang, you will die today. Hearing this, Huatang's face instantly became gloomy and unsightly. If Longao dared to say such words in the past, Huatang would certainly despise him to the extreme. However, the situation was completely different now. Huatang stared at Longao in front of him and suddenly said, "As long as you let me go, I can't tell you a secret. How about it?" Longao did not want to talk nonsense anymore. He rushed out. Before he arrived, his powerful aura had already reached Huatang. Huatang was a mid-level Earth Emperor. Longao's current realm was the same as Huatang's. In the same realm, Longao could slaughter and even kill in seconds. Huatang did not dare to be careless. After dodging, he was ready to turn around and leave. However, at this time, Huatang remembered that someone had blocked the entrance. This was Huatang's first time meeting Longpatian. Of course, he did not know him. Get lost. Huatang was afraid of Longao, but he was not afraid of Longpatian. He rushed towards the entrance. However, Huatang never thought that this seemingly weak young man would be so powerful. Before he could react, Longpatian had already punched him back. Dao Ancestor. Huatang was completely stunned. Huatang had never thought that the person guarding the entrance was also a Dao Ancestor. On one side was Longao, and on the other side was a Dao Ancestor. Was he really going to die here? He was unwilling. At this moment, Huatang was extremely unwilling. This time, with the help of the Blood Sea Sect's Nihility Soul and Miao Cheng, he thought that he could smoothly kill Longao and compete for the ranking in the Battle of the Nine Regions. But what was the result? Huatang simply could not accept such a result. Given Long Potion's strength, killing Huatang would only take a few minutes. However, Longpatian didn't do anything. He just forced Huatang back. Longao nodded at Longpatian. He did not use the blood-sucking wild saber. He only used his arms, the divine dragon arms and the underworld tiger arms. His arms fiercely smashed out, not giving Huatang any chance to escape. Longao, even if I die, I won't let you have it easy. I'm going to self-destruct. Idiot, why are you shouting when you self-destruct? Longao wasn't afraid of Huatang blowing himself up, because at this moment, Huatang didn't have the slightest chance of blowing himself up. Before Huatang could self-destruct, Longao's body had already closed in on him. Both of his fists smashed over without hesitation. Kacha, kacha. Longao punched Huatang left and right as if he was punching a sandbag. His punches landed on Huatang's body. In just a few seconds, Huatang was already smashed beyond recognition. Blood gushed out. Longao, you. Finally, Huatang couldn't take it anymore and fainted. Looking coldly at Huatang, who couldn't get up, Longao did not continue smashing him. Under such circumstances, it would be a piece of cake for him to kill Huatang. Huatang was dead. Miao Cheng was dead. Nothingness was dead. This time, Blazing Flame Sect was in an extremely tragic state. They were initially full of confidence, but to think that they would end up in such a state. If Blazing Flame Sect knew about this, would they be angered to death? There was no medicine for regret in this world. Such an outcome was the choice of Blazing Flame Sect. Longao, who is this person? Huatang of Blazing Flame City. Oh, I heard that this person's talent is pretty decent, but it's a pity. Longao, the grudge between you and Blazing Flame Sect has reached a point where it's either you or me. If this goes on, Let's not talk about you. Just your family alone will be in big trouble. Nodding his head, how could Longao not know about this? However, Longao wasn't too worried. No matter what, there was fire chillin in the family. As long as there weren't any super experts coming to the family to cause trouble, Longao believed that fire chillin would be able to handle it. However, Longao knew that this wasn't a long-term plan. According to his agreement with Fire Chillin would leave the family in 3 years. What would happen to the family by then? Just like what Long Patian had said, the grudge between him and Blazing Flame Sect had reached a point where they couldn't tolerate each other anymore. Once Blazing Flame City knew about this, they would definitely not let it go. Everyone had witnessed the battle between him and Miao Chung. If there were no accidents, Blazing Flame Sect would definitely know about it. Their son was killed, their most outstanding disciple was killed, and even their nothingness soul was destroyed. It would be strange if Blazing Flame Sect could tolerate such a grudge. Longao's face turned slightly solemn. This time, not only had he offended Blazing Flame Sect, he had also offended Bloodsea Sect. He already had a lot of grudges with Bloodsea Sect. Now that he had destroyed Bloodsea Sect's nothingness soul, not only Blazing Flame Sect, but even Bloodsea Sect wouldn't let it go. Blazing Flame Sect and Bloodsea Sect had already formed an alliance. If they were to join forces to deal with him and his family, things would become extremely troublesome. Long Patian naturally knew what Longao was worried about. Suddenly, he said, Longao, now that we've formed an alliance, your matter is my matter. How about this? I'll send the power of my family to your family later on. I'll also send 2 venerables to watch over your family. How about that? 2 venerables? Longao naturally knew what 2 venerables meant. According to Dugu Bai and Xiajun, the highest existence in the 6 great sects was the Supreme, followed by the Venerables. Thank you, Longao. Although I can help you, you have to remember one thing. It's better to rely on yourself than on others. So, you have to think of a way to increase the strength of your family as much as possible. I understand, but it's impossible to increase the strength of my family in a short amount of time. He sighed deeply in his heart. Longao had thought about this problem no less than 100 times. He had also thought of many methods, such as pills and spiritual balls. However, the effect of these methods was almost negligible. Regardless of what would happen in the future, it was almost impossible to rapidly increase the strength of the clan in a short period of time at the moment. Longao, do you know why the Long family that's rank 3 and above can dominate the continent and why no one dares to offend them? Dragon Valley. There was no doubt about this. Long family matters were known to all. Without the support of the Dragon Valley, it was likely that the Long family wouldn't have become one of the most powerful forces on the continent. Long family dominated the continent because the disciples of the Long family could enter the Dragon Valley and choose their own companions to become dragon martialists. The strength of a dragon martialist wasn't as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. It wouldn't be a problem for them to challenge those of a higher rank. However, Long family had a written rule that only Long families of rank 3 and above could send their disciples into the Dragon Valley. Long families below rank 3 didn't have this opportunity. Chapter 256. That's right, the Dragon Valley. Long Patian nodded and sighed. The reason why the Dragon Clan can dominate the continent is because of the Dragon Valley. Longao didn't know what Long Patian wanted to say, so he chose to remain silent. Brother Long, no matter how hard our family works, we can't catch up to the Long family. So if we want to become stronger, we have to enter the Dragon Valley and let more dragon warriors appear in our family. Only then will we have a chance to rise. Enter the Dragon Valley? Brother Patian, you should know the rules of the Long family better than me. We have no chance of entering the Dragon Valley, let alone becoming a dragon warrior. Long Patian nodded. How could he not know this? But he still said, Brother Long, we have to work hard and break through to the Void Realm. At that time, we can compete for the dragon ranking. Once we are on the dragon ranking, we will have a chance to enter the Dragon Valley. Dragon ranking? Longao was unfamiliar with the dragon ranking that Long Patian mentioned. He didn't know what it was at all. Brother Long, It seems like you don't know about my Long family. MHM, Longao smiled embarrassedly. He indeed didn't know much about the Long family. He only knew that the Long family was one of the strongest forces in the continent. It had countless branches and a strict hierarchy. There were 9 levels, with level 1 being the highest and level 9 being the lowest. Long family has a dragon ranking. It's the most powerful ranking of the Long family's younger generation. All branches of the Long family, regardless of their level, can compete for the dragon ranking. There are a total of 100 spots. So that's how it is. Long Ao knew very well that the dragon ranking was equivalent to the 100 battle ranking and the wind ranking. They were almost the same. Brother Patian, with your current strength, what rank are you on the dragon ranking? Long Ao, you think too highly of me. With my strength, I don't have the qualifications to compete for the dragon ranking. This time, Long Ao was completely stunned. He never thought that Long Patian wouldn't even have the qualifications to compete for the dragon ranking. What did that mean? Long Ao was not a fool. Of course he knew what Long Potion's words meant. Long Ao, your guess is right. There are only 100 people on the dragon rank, and they cannot be older than 30 years old. All the clans can chase after them, so you can just imagine how difficult it is. Long Ao nodded. Even those at the peak of the Tao ancestor realm were not qualified to pursue the dragon list. There was no need for Long Patian to say more. Of course, Long Ao also knew that the dragon list was more valuable. Long Ao was even more aware that the 100 battle ranking and the Fengyun ranking were not comparable to the dragon ranking at all. The two were not at the same level at all. The dragon rank is a rank that all the disciples of the Long family dream of chasing after. However, it is very difficult for the Long family below the 3rd rank to have a disciple on the dragon rank. Hence, once a disciple from a family below the 3rd rank enters the dragon rank, the Long family will pay attention to him. Long Patian did not continue, but the meaning behind his words was very clear. Long family members would take a fancy to any Long family member who entered the dragon ranking below rank 3. However, could the disciples of the families below the 3rd rank chase after the dragon rank? There was no need to guess at all. Long Ao could be sure that the dragon rank was a list pursued by the families above the 3rd rank. Just the identity of a dragon warrior alone would make the disciples of the low-level families lose the chance. Long Ao knew very well in his heart how difficult it was to chase after the dragon rankings. Brother Long, the Long family has a clear rule. If you want to chase after the dragon rank, your cultivation must first break through the void disaster realm. Otherwise, with our current realm, we are not even qualified to chase after the dragon rank, let alone be on the dragon rank. Long Ao's heart skipped a beat. It was too cruel. No wonder the Long family could become one of the most powerful forces on the continent. According to Long Patian, only those whose cultivation could break through the void realm could chase after the dragon rank. Did that mean that the more than 100 people on the dragon rank were all void warriors? Long family was too powerful. Long Ao, if we want our families to rise, we only have one chance, and that is the dragon rank. So, there is only one thing we need to do now, and that is to chase after the dragon rank. The higher the rank, the better it is for us and the families behind us. I got it. Long Ao clenched his fists. Just as Long Patian said, if he wanted his family to become powerful, the Dragon Valley and the Dragon Warrior were the only way. And he needed to help his family achieve all of this. No matter what, he was already a Dragon Warrior. Long Ao, your cultivation has now broken through to the middle level of the Earthly Emperor realm. Although your real strength is comparable to a Tao ancestor, you are still an Earthly Emperor. I have a way to help you break through to the Tao ancestor realm in a short time. Would you like to give it a try? Long Ao was overjoyed. He nodded and agreed without even thinking. Of course I would like to. What is it? It's very simple. After the 9-state storm battle, you will follow me back to the family. Then I will arrange for you to enter a place. As long as you can do it, I believe it will not only help your current strength increase, but also benefit your future cultivation. Long Patian obviously did not want to talk about the place, so Long Ao did not ask further. Since he regarded Long Patian as a friend, Long Ao would certainly choose to believe him. He nodded and said, Then I will have to trouble you, Brother Patian. Brother Patian, we don't know when Heavenly Hound will come. Why don't we fight for the soul tokens first, and then deal with Heavenly Hound? What do you think? Although Long Patian was a little unwilling, he knew that the two of them couldn't continue to wait here. But this time, all of them entered the Crimson Sky World to participate in the Battle of the Nine States, mainly to compete for a ranking and to become famous. But if the two of them stayed here all the time, wouldn't they be empty-handed if Heavenly Hound didn't show up? Just as Long Patian and Longao were about to leave, they saw two people coming from outside the valley. It was a man and a woman. The man was tall, and the woman was enchanting. They walked toward the valley, leaning on each other. Heavenly Hound, Yao Ji. Hearing Long Potion's words, Longao immediately became alert. They looked at each other and immediately shot to the left, disappearing without a trace in the blink of an eye. Shortly after they disappeared, Heavenly Hound and Yao Ji entered the valley. Brother Go, why do you always come here? I'm so annoyed. Hearing Yao Ji's words in the distance, Longao shuddered. It was so disgusting. Longao, Yao Ji is a man. Longao's eyes suddenly widened. His face was full of disbelief. Yao Ji was a man? At first glance, no matter how he looked, Yao Ji was not a man, but an extremely enchanting woman. A man was not a man, and a woman was not a woman. What was this? Chapter 257. Brother Patian. How did he do it? Yao Ji was originally a woman. It's said that she cultivated an ancient secret skill called the Sunflower Manual. Even though she's strong, she ended up being neither male nor female. Sunflower Manual? Longao was very surprised. He was very curious about this so-called Sunflower Manual. What kind of secret technique was it? It could actually make a person become neither male nor female. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, even if he was beaten to death, he wouldn't have believed that there was such a thing in the world. Brother Long, this Sunflower Manual is extremely strong. It's said that Yao Ji has only cultivated it for 2 years, and she's already at the Tao Ancestor Pinnacle state. I believe that it won't be long before she reaches the Void state. No matter how strong the Sunflower Manual is, that alone is something that I can't accept. Nodding his head, Long Patian didn't want to look any further. After all, a transvestite who was neither male nor female hugging another man and being all lovey-dovey with each other was something that anyone would be disgusted by. After Tiango and Yao Ji entered the valley, they were whispering to each other. Whether it was on purpose or not, Longao and Long Patian couldn't hear their conversation. But at this moment, Longao's face was getting uglier by the second. He wondered if Tiango had discovered something. After entering the valley, the both of them headed towards the wall of the valley. This was where the tomb was located. Could Tiango have discovered the entrance? Logically speaking, that shouldn't be the case. Longao was clear in his heart. If Tiango had known about the entrance, he wouldn't have waited until now. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. Looking at the both of them, Longao was certain that Tiango knew about the entrance of the tomb. Brother Go, can we really enter the tomb from here? Don't worry. I've spent so much time and effort to find the entrance. How could it be wrong? Tiango was filled with confidence. He then dripped his blood onto the picture on the wall. Indeed, the moment his blood fused into the picture, it was sucked dry. Longao, seems like Tiango has found out about the entrance of the tomb. Nodding his head, Longao asked, Brother Patian, what should we do now? Wait and see. At this moment, a series of noises suddenly came from the wall, and then a stone door suddenly opened. Heavenly Hound and Enchantress were overjoyed. Without any hesitation, they immediately prepared to enter the stone door. However, at this moment, 2 terrifying auras pressed down on them, covering the sky and earth. Heavenly Hound and Enchantress were shocked. They did not dare to be careless and immediately turned around to fight back. As the 4 of them faced each other, a strong gale blew. Both sides retreated for a stroll. When the Celestial Hound saw the 2 newcomers, one of whom was Long Patian, its face darkened to the extreme. Long Patian, you're courting death? Heavenly Hound, don't talk to me, Before he could finish, Long Patian made a gesture of vomiting, which infuriated Heavenly Hound. Long Patian, do you like me a lot? Yao Ji asked in an extremely gentle voice. Long Patian, do you like me? Yao Ji, stop trying to disgust me here, you shitty transvestite. You really don't know how to be humorous. Who is this person next to you? He's quite handsome. Little brother, how about you accompany me? Accompany your sister. Longao was too lazy to pay attention to the two. Just looking at the transvestite enchantress gave Longao goosebumps. Seeing Longao attack, Long Patian did not hesitate. With the two of them working together, their power doubled. However, at this moment, Heavenly Hound and Enchantress suddenly hugged each other, and their bodies began to spin. Longao, be careful. The two of them have combined. Enchantress's sunflower scripture just happened to have a martial skill combination technique. It was because of this combination technique that the two of them were almost invincible under the Nihility realm. Under Longao's shocked gaze, Heavenly Hound and Enchantress's bodies completely fused together, forming a person with two faces. One face was male, one face was female. In other words, Heavenly Hound and Enchantress shared the same body but had two heads. What kind of monster was this? Longao, you deal with one face and I'll deal with the other. Remember, don't give them any time to breathe. Otherwise, we'll be in trouble. Nodding, Longao naturally knew the severity of the situation. He didn't dare be careless in the slightest. He fiercely punched out with both fists, but no matter how much force he used, Longao still felt like he was punching a ball of cotton. So powerful. He had to admit that Heavenly Hound and Enchantress's combined strength was very strong. Even the Divine Dragon Arm and Underworld Tiger Arm were unable to break through their defenses. Ha ha ha, I'll let you experience primordial true chi. When a man cultivated the sunflower scripture, he would become transvestite. When a woman cultivated it, she would also become transvestite. However, when the two of them worked together, the primordial true chi they cultivated was incomparably powerful. Heavenly Hound and Enchantress's hands were as fast as lightning, and they constantly attacked the two of them. The primordial true chi fused the principles of yin and yang, using softness to overcome hardness. Longao and Long Patian could not use any strength. Just like that, Longao and Long Patian were forced back step by step. Master, you can't use Sorrow of Heaven and Earth. Longao, who was preparing to use Sorrow of Heaven and Earth, suddenly heard Long Fu's voice in his mind. He was very curious. Longao did not know why he could not use Sorrow of Heaven and Earth. However, Longao chose to believe Long Fu in the end. With no other choice, Longao could only use the Destruction Seal, Soul Subduing Seal, Underworld Burning Seal, and Sky Burying Seal. However, they were still firmly blocked by the two-faced monster. They could not invade its body, let alone corrode its so-called soul. Brother Patian, distract Heavenly Hound and Enchantress. Although Long Patian did not know what Longao wanted to do, he still nodded. Then, Long Patian erupted with his peak battle strength and tangled with the two-faced monster. Longao took the opportunity to withdraw. I'll let you try a soul attack. Longao was very clear in his heart. According to the defensive power of the two of them combined, it would be almost impossible to break through with strength. After thinking about it, Longao was prepared to use a soul attack, hoping that he would be able to succeed in one hit. However, before using the soul attack, Longao took out the God Sealing Pearl and God Punishing Mirror and released them at the same time. Two different forces spread out and instantly enveloped the two-faced monster. Longao locked onto the two-faced monster and changed the flow of time, causing the two-faced monster to flow backward for 3 seconds. At this moment, Longao did not let go of this rare opportunity and directly used a soul attack. Soul attacks were very powerful, but they were also very dangerous. The slightest bit of carelessness could cause the opponent's soul to backfire, and the consequences would be unimaginable. P.S. I didn't sleep last night and just took a nap. The 10th chapter has been delivered. Don't worry, the remaining 10 chapters will definitely be finished by today. Even if I have to stay up late tonight, I hope that everyone will reward Little Nine for his hard work. For those who exceed 200 renminbi, please leave a comment in the book review and Little 9 will thank you in the chapters. The more you reward, the more I will thank you. Chapter 258. Soul Attack. Longao's choice of Soul Attack had a 50-50 chance of success. Although Soul Attack could attack the opponent's soul, it would also backfire on the opponent's soul. Because of this, Longao was very careful every time he used Soul Attack. One had to admit that Longao's choice of Soul Attack this time was correct. In any case, Long Patian was still a peak Dao ancestor. Although he couldn't defeat the two-faced freak, it was more than enough to hold Tengu and Yaoji back. Because of this, Longao had the opportunity to attack the two-faced freak. Although the two's fusion technique was very powerful, their souls were very fragile. This was also why Soul Attack was known as the Overlord of Martial Arts. The Soul Attack successfully attacked the two-faced freak. Longao was overjoyed. Without the slightest hesitation, he rushed up and slashed down with the blood-sucking broadsword in his hand. This time, Longao didn't use any broadsword radiance. He was ready to use their blood as a sacrifice to the blood-sucking broadsword. Hearing the two-faced freak scream, although Long Patian didn't know what was going on, he didn't give up such an opportunity. When Longao moved, Long Patian also moved. The two of them, one in front and one behind, didn't give the two-faced freak any chance. However, Tengu and Yaoji forcibly suppressed the soul attack and split into two. From the two-faced freak, they turned into a man and a woman. They were Yaoji and Tengu who had just merged. Long Patian was overjoyed when he saw the two of them splitting up. Longao, you deal with Yaoji, I'll deal with Tengu. Okay, let's compete and see who's faster. One had to admit that Longao was really arrogant, but Longao did have the capital to be arrogant. Long Patian also laughed and said, okay, let's compete. You're courting death. Tengu and Yaoji's faces were gloomy to the extreme. Since the two of them merged, they had never been defeated. But now, they were forced to separate. Longao against Yaoji, Tengu against Long Patian. Hee, little handsome brother. You have to feel sorry for this servant. This servant is very fragile. Looking at the disgusting androgynous appearance, Longao had goosebumps all over his body. He didn't want to waste any more words with Yaoji and directly punched her. Master, be careful of soul attacks. Hearing Long Fu's warning, Longao became extra careful. At this moment, Yaoji suddenly shot out a soul attack into his mind. However, Longao had been prepared for this and was able to successfully dissolve the soul attack. Longao was a little dazed, because he had never thought that Yaoji would actually know the so-called soul martial skill. It was precisely because of this that Longao started to be very careful. After all, no one knew when Yaoji would continue to attack his soul. However, what made Longao extremely depressed was that Enchantress didn't fight him head-on at all. She just used soul attacks, wave after wave, without giving Longao any chance to catch his breath. If a tiger doesn't show its might, you'll think I'm a sick cat. Since Yaoji didn't want to fight head-on and preferred soul attacks, then he would accompany her to the end. Just like this, Longao and Yaoji both stopped attacking and stood facing each other with a distance of about 1 meter. You send out a wave of soul attack. I send out a wave of soul attack, attacking each other's soul. Long Patian and Tengu's battle seemed dangerous, but it was actually not as good as Longao and Yaoji's soul battle. This was because once both of their soul attacks hit the other, the spirit beast would be at the mercy of the other when it was injured. It was precisely because of this that both Yaoji and Longao were carefully defending, afraid that the other's soul attack would hit them. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Under normal circumstances, Longao and Yaoji's cultivation base was so far apart, so their soul power should be much weaker as well. However, Longao had always been cultivating his soul and soul attacks, so he wasn't any weaker than Yaoji. If Yaoji chose to fight head-on, it would be hard to tell who would win. But now, as the battle escalated, Longao was gaining the upper hand. Bam! Hit by Longao's soul attack, Yaoji's body shook violently. Luckily, she had dodged in time, or this attack would have taken her life. Yao Ji was no fool. She knew that she was no match for the other party. So, she continued to attack while slowly moving back, wanting to regroup with Tengu. Once they were reunited, she wouldn't have to be afraid of the other party. Longao and Long Patian knew what the other party was trying to do. So, they didn't give them any chance and increased the intensity of their attacks. The strength and frequency of their soul attacks had increased by 1/3. Longao was risking his own soul power to destroy the other party in the shortest amount of time. One could imagine how tragic Yao Ji and Tengu were. Long Patian, we admit defeat. You guys stop. Now that things had come to this, Tengu knew that if they continued fighting, they would die. So, they had no choice but to surrender. To a warrior, admitting defeat could be said to be the greatest humiliation. But compared to his life, humiliation was not worth mentioning. So in the end, Tengu still chose to admit defeat. But would Long Patian and Long Ao accept their surrender? If you don't remove the roots, it will grow again. Kill. Long Ao didn't even say a word and continued to attack. Don't you like soul attacks? I'll let you enjoy my soul attacks. At the beginning, Yao Ji was able to resist for a while. But, perhaps because her state of mind had changed, she panicked and was directly hit by Long Ao's soul attack. She screamed miserably. Long Ao's second wave of soul attack and the third wave of soul attack came continuously, one after another, piercing Yao Ji's soul fiercely. Yao Ji's soul was being pierced by Long Ao's soul. Yao Ji's soul was already very powerful for an ordinary warrior. Especially when Yao Ji used a soul attack, it was even more difficult to find a match. However, Yao Ji's luck was not good. He had encountered a freak whose soul was even stronger than his. Yao Ji tried to steal a chicken only to end up losing the rice used to lure it. She thought that using her soul attack to obliterate a small, earthly emperor warrior was just a piece of cake. But when she really fought, she found that she was wrong. She was so wrong that she was beyond redemption. Yao Ji's soul was riddled with holes from the attack. Finally, she couldn't hold on any longer. Plop, her entire body fell down. Long Ao didn't hesitate in the slightest and directly sent Yao Ji's soul into the dragon seal space. In any case, Yao Ji was a peak Tao ancestor warrior. Once her soul was refined by the blood pool, her strength couldn't be underestimated. Chapter 259. The Sunflower Scripture. Long Ao wasn't worried about Long Patian and Tengu's battle at all, because he had full confidence in Long Patian. Long Ao immediately went to Yao Ji's side and reached out his hand, resisting his nausea as he searched for something on Yao Ji's body. Just as expected, Long Ao took out a scroll from Yao Ji's bosom and opened it. There were 4 words written on it, the so-called Sunflower Scripture. Long Patian had just obtained the Sunflower Scripture when he struck Tengu's head with his palm, ending the battle. From then on, both Yao Ji and Tengu had been defeated. Not only had they lost, but they had also lost their lives. Long Ao, are you going to cultivate the Sunflower Scripture? Long Patian was shocked to see Long Ao holding the Sunflower Scripture. He said somewhat anxiously, Long Ao, let me give you a piece of advice. Although the Sunflower Scripture is very powerful, it will turn you into a woman. You should think twice before you act. Long Ao was quite depressed at Long Potion's words. Since when did he want to cultivate the Sunflower Scripture? Long Ao was very tempted by the power of the Sunflower Scripture. Let alone him. He believed that no matter who it was, they wouldn't be able to resist this temptation. However, Long Ao wasn't willing to become a woman if he wanted to cultivate the Sunflower Scripture. He bitterly smiled and said, Brother Patian, you misunderstand. I'm just curious to see what the Sunflower Scripture is. I don't want to become a woman yet. Long Patian nodded. He seemed to be injured and said, Let's rest first. Long Patian immediately sat down on the ground and began to cultivate. Long Ao ignored Long Patian and opened the scroll. The first page had the words Sunflower Scripture written on it. When he opened the second page, Long Ao froze in place when he saw the words on it. If you want to cultivate a divine art, you have to castrate yourself with a blade. You have to refine pills and take medicine. Below it was written, today's Qi cultivation Tao is nothing more than thoughts and guidance. Heaven and earth are divided into clear and turbid to create life. Man's Qi cultivation Tao is nothing more than refining the void and purifying the turbid. Qi is the master of life. Form is the use of the body. Heaven and earth can be reversed, and there is also a way for men and women to transform into each other. This Tao must not be taught lightly. To cultivate this technique, one must first nurture one's heart, so that one's heart will not be distracted by distracting thoughts and will be detached from worldly affairs. If one's heart is distracted by distracting thoughts, not only will it be useless, but it will also endanger one's life. After reading the first 2 sentences of the Sunflower Manual, Longao was completely dumbfounded. If you want to practice divine skills, you have to castrate yourself. Now, Longao finally understood why those who cultivated the Sunflower Manual would become women. What a terrifying martial skill. Longao flipped to the 3rd page and skimmed through it. Longao yearned for the Qi refinement Tao recorded in the book. If you want to practice divine skills, you have to castrate yourself. If he doesn't castrate himself, he'll have to work hard. Heat rose from his body, igniting his body. From the bottom to the top, it was restless and chaotic. Even if the fever had stopped, the injuries would not stop. After castration, true Qi would be generated by itself. It flowed into his dantian without any hindrance. In the method of generating Qi, the expression of contemplation is bitter. Detest bitterness and give up separation in order to attain tranquility. After tranquility, the hands would be like flowers. Qi would circulate around the Ren meridian and various acupoints, converging into the dantian. After the Qi was formed, the person would be reborn, incomparably wonderful. Then, he flipped to the 4th page and saw what was recorded on it. Longao was stunned for a moment. Men cultivate Qi, women cultivate blood. Dual cultivation of Qi and blood, achieving twice the result with half the effort. Qi flourishes and blood flourishes, but in the end, one needs to focus on one type. Qi is the guide, blood is the medium. Men focus on yang, women focus on yin. If men and women can receive the righteous Qi of heaven and earth, they can move heaven and earth. The method in between is to protect the kidneys, obtain lead, nourish the heart, obtain mercury. The rise and fall of lead and mercury meet in a golden cauldron to form a pill. Without a foundation, lead and mercury will not be generated. The method of dual cultivation of yin and yang. Longao was very clear in his heart what the method of dual cultivation of yin and yang represented in the Sunflower Manual. But when he thought of the fusion of Tiango and Yaoji just now, he couldn't help but shiver. Looking for me? Longao didn't know why Long Fu was looking for him at this time, but he still communicated with the dragon seal with his soul and entered the dragon seal space. Long Fu, why are you looking for me? Master, the Sunflower Manual you just obtained was created by a super expert. Unless you have no other choice, you absolutely cannot cultivate it. So it was about this. Longao smiled and said, Long Fu, don't worry. I still don't want to become a woman, so no matter when or what happens, I won't cultivate the Sunflower Manual. Master, although you can't cultivate the Sunflower Manual, you can still try out the path of Qi cultivation and the method of dual cultivation of yin and yang. This way, your cultivation will increase even faster. Just now, he had roughly looked through the path of Qi cultivation in the Sunflower Manual. It really was very powerful. Even without Long Fu saying anything, Longao was already prepared to cultivate the path of Qi cultivation. As for the method of dual cultivation of yin and yang, it would be a lie to say that he wasn't tempted. No matter what, Longao was a normal man. If he could enjoy the pleasures of sex while increasing his strength, wouldn't that be wonderful? Master, when you cultivate the method of dual cultivation of yin and yang, you absolutely must be careful. Give me the Sunflower Manual, and I'll make some changes to the path of Qi cultivation and yin and yang dual cultivation. You shouldn't have any side effects. Longao nodded. He didn't want himself and his loved ones to become two-faced freaks. After giving the Sunflower Manual to Long Fu, Longao left the dragon seal space. Just now, he had used a soul attack to erase Yao Ji. Longao's soul had been greatly exhausted. He didn't dare to hesitate and immediately sat down to recover his soul. One on the left and one on the right, Longao and Long Patian were quietly recuperating. After an unknown amount of time, the two of them opened their eyes at the same time. They looked at each other and saw a trace of friendship in each other's eyes. Big brother Patian, brother Long. Suddenly, Longao and Long Patian laughed loudly. After laughing for a while, Long Patian suddenly said, "Brother Long, now that we've found the entrance to the tomb, why don't you and I go in and check it out?" Longao was afraid that Long Patian would go to the tomb. He wanted to persuade him, but when the words reached his mouth, he abruptly swallowed them back down. When had he become so timid? Thinking of this, Longao nodded and said, "No problem. I also want to see what's inside the tomb." The two saw a trace of determination in each other's eyes. Inside the dragon seal space. Hearing that Longao wanted to go to the tomb, Long Fu didn't become angry at all. Instead, a trace of praise appeared on his face. He muttered to himself, bravely moving forward, unafraid of danger. Master didn't choose the wrong person. I also didn't choose the wrong person. Looking at the blood pool in front of him, Long Fu's eyes revealed an unprecedented trace of sadness. He said with a resolute voice, "Master, I will definitely avenge you. No matter how difficult this path is, don't worry, I will definitely do it." The new master's cultivation is rising very quickly. I believe that revenge won't be far away. Hearing Long Fu's words, the blood in the blood pool suddenly began to roil as if venting something. "Master, I know what to do." Chapter 260. Longao and Long Patian entered the black channel. It was pitch black, and they couldn't even see their own fingers. "Brother Long, the ancient tomb is extremely dangerous. You have to be careful." Longao nodded. Ever since they had entered the black channel, he had been extremely careful. The entire black channel was sloping downwards. In other words, the two of them were going down until they reached the bottom of the valley. "There's light." Seeing a glimmer of light not far away, the two of them were overjoyed and immediately quickened their pace. In a short while, they had already reached the end of the black tunnel. Looking at the space in front of them, both Longao and Long Patian were dumbfounded. So this is the so-called ancient tomb. He was shocked. Following their gazes, they saw a boundless space in front of them. Black mist curled around it, and the aura of vengeful spirits filled the air. Ghostly wails and sinister winds blew. Not only that, but there were also tombs in this space. There were no tombstones, and it was impossible to tell who they were. Longao and Long Patian exchanged a glance. They could see the shock in each other's eyes. The two of them knew that the corpses in these tombs belonged to famous martial artists of the martial heaven continent from 1,000 years ago. It was just that they had died in a great battle. "Longao, have you noticed the problem?" "Yes. Since countless people died in that great battle 1,000 years ago, who was it that built this underground tomb? It's hard to imagine what the consequences would be if such powerful, vengeful spirits were released." Without even needing to get close, Longao could clearly sense just how powerful these vengeful spirits were. Vengeful spirits were very simple. After a martial artist died, their souls would gather together and not scatter. Their resentment would remain in their souls, and over time, they would become vengeful spirits. The resentment of vengeful spirits was extremely powerful. Furthermore, there were tens of thousands of them. "Brother Long, are we still going in?" Sensing the powerful vengeful spirit army, Long Patian, who had been brimming with confidence, suddenly felt the urge to retreat. He helplessly looked at Longao. Shrugging, Longao indifferently said, "It's best if we leave for now. This kind of good thing is best left to others." "All right, let's go." The two of them didn't want to stay for another minute, so they turned around and prepared to leave. However, at this moment, the terrifying army of wraiths began to form a powerful tornado. Before the two of them could escape, they were sucked in by the tornado of wraiths and dragged in. Feeling such a terrifying suction force, Long Ao and Long Patian were both shocked. Of course, the two of them knew what had happened. In their fear, they didn't dare to hesitate in the slightest. They used all of their strength to try and break free from the suction force. However, the suction force of the army of vengeful spirits was too terrifying. It did not give Long Ao and Long Patian the slightest chance to escape. Thump, thump. They fell heavily to the ground and made intimate contact with the ground. At this moment, the two of them did not care about any pain at all. They turned around and directly shot toward the black tunnel. However, it was easy to enter, but difficult to leave. Before Long Ao and Long Patian could leave, the army of vengeful spirits had already charged toward them. They all looked ferocious, and their mouths were wide open. They looked extremely terrifying. Long Patian was in complete despair. Although he was very powerful, he was at the peak of the Tao ancestor realm. Unless a void cultivator came, he was not afraid of anyone. However, Long Patian was helpless against this so-called army of vengeful spirits. Even if he could barely resist, he would only be able to resist for a while, but not forever. Brother Patian, what are you doing? Seeing that Long Patian seemed to have chosen to give up, Long Ao was shocked. He didn't know what was going on with Long Patian at this moment. Was he going to give up just like that? Brother Long, we're dead. Hearing this, Long Ao almost fell down. He didn't even try and chose to give up. He scolded fiercely. Are you still a cultivator? Pull yourself together. As long as we don't die, we have a chance to leave. Long Patian, who had already chosen to give up, looked at Long Ao and saw that Long Ao was determined to not give up. He gritted his teeth and said with a laugh, Brother Long, you're right. We can't give up until the last moment. As he spoke, Long Patian had already rushed out, but he was pulled back by Long Ao. Brother Long, what are you doing? He was very confused. He had clearly chosen to persist, so why did he pull him back? Brother Patian, you're behind me. Long Ao didn't care whether Long Patian could understand or not. He had already started to attack. He suddenly punched out with both fists, and all the power in his body gathered in his fists. The reason why Long Ao was so confident was that when he went through the Thunder Tribulation, not only did he integrate the power of the Thunder Tribulation, but he could also use the power of the Thunder Tribulation to fight against enemies. However, the power of the Thunder Tribulation was the nemesis of souls. Long Ao didn't use the Divine Dragon Arm and the Hell Tiger Arm. He only integrated the power of the Blood-Drinking 8 styles and the power of the Thunder Tribulation. As expected, the fist shadows danced wildly. Perhaps it was because the fist energy was too dense, but the fist shadows directly formed a shield and integrated with the power of the Thunder Tribulation. The great army of vengeful spirits surrounded the two of them. However, they were afraid of the fist shadow chi cover and did not dare to attack. Long Ao continuously smashed out fist shadows, but his heart was extremely depressed. Although he had temporarily blocked the great army of vengeful spirits, this was not a long-term plan. Long Ao knew that there would be a time when he couldn't hold on anymore. At that time, only death would await him. How could Long Patian not know about Long Ao's situation? Brother Long, what should we do now? Follow me. Long Ao and Long Patian did not dare to stay any longer. The moment they relaxed, they would be drowned by the army of vengeful spirits and die without a burial ground. It was precisely because of this that the two of them slowly walked towards the black tunnel under the cover of the fist shadows. As long as they left the space of the tomb and entered the black tunnel, everything would be fine. The army of wraiths didn't know their intention. It was impossible for them to let them go. Although they were afraid of the fist shadows, they still chose to throw themselves at it like moths to a flame. Brother Long, let me help you. Long Potion's palms directly pressed on Long Ao's back, and he continuously transferred the power in his body to him. Anyway, Long Patian was a warrior at the peak of the Tao ancestor realm. He was very powerful, even more powerful than Dugabai. Long Ao, who gradually felt that he couldn't hold on, suddenly became energetic with the infusion of Long Potion's power. He roared, and the fist shadows became more powerful. However, the army of wraiths was not afraid at all. They still chose to throw themselves at the two of them from afar like moths to a flame. After listening to Long Potion's introduction of the illusion array, Longao was also very surprised. Illusion was one of the most powerful formations. Once you fell into an illusion, everything you saw would change. In other words, everything you saw wouldn't be real. There were even some illusory arrays that had killing arrays inside. Once a martial artist was trapped, wanting to break out of the array would not be an easy task. There weren't many formation masters in the martial heaven continent. That was because the requirements to become a formation master were too harsh. It was precisely because they were so rare that they weren't valued by martial artists. However, that didn't mean they weren't powerful. That was why Longao and Long Patian were even more curious. They didn't know who had set up such a powerful illusion formation here. Master, this illusion formation is the sealing power of this tomb, so you can't break it. Otherwise, once it breaks, the army of vengeful spirits will break out. At that time, the world will descend into chaos, said Long Patian. The illusion formation was the sealing power? Once the illusion formation was broken, the army of vengeful spirits would break out? Hearing Long Fu's words, Longao was shocked in his heart. His face became even uglier because he knew that if the illusion array was not broken, then they would never be able to leave this place. It wouldn't take long. He believed that after a few more hours, once his stamina was exhausted, he could only wait for death. Long Fu, what should I do? Master, there is only one way. That is to use the dragon seal space to absorb the army of vengeful spirits. Longao curiously asked, Long Fu, didn't you already say that the dragon seal space is unable to refine these vengeful spirits? Long Fu had already said that he was unable to refine these so-called vengeful spirits. Otherwise, he wouldn't have had to wait for Tiango and Yao Ji to open the entrance. Master, the blood pool is indeed unable to refine these vengeful spirits. However, I can forcibly absorb them. At that time, I will fall into a deep sleep for 100 years. A deep sleep for 100 years? Longao was shocked when he heard that. He impatiently said, Long Fu, you can't do that. All right, I'll take care of this. What kind of joke was this? Longao clearly knew that 80% of the reason why he could have his current achievements was because of the dragon seal space. If Long Fu were to fall into a deep sleep for 100 years, what would he do? Because of this, Longao didn't even think about it and directly rejected Long Fu's request. Without giving Long Fu any chance to speak, Longao left the dragon seal space. Brother Long, let's give up. Since things had already reached this stage, Long Patian didn't want to continue. At this moment, Long Patian regretted coming in. Why did he have to come in when everything was fine? Not to mention Long Patian, even Longao himself wanted to give up. But was he really going to give up? Back then, he had fallen from the number 1 genius of Scarlet Fire Town to the number 1 trash and had been humiliated for 10 whole years. However, he had persevered for 10 whole years. He had persevered for 10 whole years, so how could he easily give up now? Brother Patian, we can't give up until the very last moment. AI. Long Patian deeply sighed. Although his heart was filled with unwillingness, he knew that the two of them definitely wouldn't be able to leave this time. The surrounding vengeful spirit army had already stopped attacking, but he clearly knew that once Long Ming's saber disappeared, the vengeful spirit army would mercilessly devour the two of them. Long Patian chose to give up. Longao chose to persevere. Just on this point alone, Long Patian was already inferior to Longao. Just as Longao was about to give up, a tiger's roar rang out. Immediately after, Long Ming appeared in front of Longao. He coldly stared at the surrounding vengeful spirits and let out another tiger's roar that resounded through the entire tomb. The roar rolled out. Chapter 262. Netherworld Tiger. Long Patian seemed a little surprised. After all, He didn't expect Long Ao to have such a little fellow by his side. Long Ming, come back. Shaking his head, Long Ao communicated with Long Ming. He helplessly discovered that the little fellow wanted to help him devour these wraiths. He was shocked. After all, even Long Fu couldn't do anything about these wraiths, let alone the little fellow. However, before Long Ao could make a move, Long Ming's small body had already shot out. Long Ming's speed was very fast. He was like a ghost. No matter how powerful the wraiths were, Long Ming would devour them without hesitation. In the end, Long Ao and Long Potion's luck was pretty good. If it were a few hundred years ago, they probably wouldn't even be able to withstand the first wave of attacks if they entered the tomb. However, the wraith's strength had decreased a lot after being sealed for so many years. It was precisely because of this that the little fellow could devour them without any scruples. However, no matter what, there were simply too many wraiths here. It was almost impossible for Long Ming to devour all of them by himself. However, Long Ao was powerless. With his strength, he couldn't do anything other than wait on the spot. Master, hurry up and stop the little fellow. If it continues to devour, I'm afraid it will explode and die. Hearing Long Fu's words, Long Ao was shocked. He didn't dare to hesitate at all. He immediately flew over and hugged the little fellow who was devouring wraiths. Long Ming, I know you want to help me, but if you want to exchange your life for mine, I'd rather die than you. Hearing this, the little fellow completely quieted down. Master, send the little fellow into the dragon seal space. Long Ao nodded. Of course, he knew the seriousness of the matter. The little fellow had devoured so many wraiths. If anything happened to it, he would definitely feel guilty for the rest of his life. The little fellow had just been sent into the dragon seal space. Before Long Patian and Long Ao could react, the two of them had already fainted. That's right, the two of them had indeed fainted. Under normal circumstances, if the two of them were to faint at this time, the consequences would be unimaginable. Sure enough, as soon as the two of them fainted, countless vengeful spirits pounced on Long Ao and Long Patian. However, at this moment, a small black seal suddenly floated out from Long Ao's chest. An ancient dragon's roar reverberated throughout the entire tomb. Following that, the figure of a huge dragon appeared. It slowly opened its eyes and looked around coldly. All the vengeful spirits that were pouncing towards it fled in all directions in fear, like mice that had seen a cat. Contempt was written all over the dragon's face. It just smiled and suddenly emitted a powerful aura. It was ancient, cold, gloomy, terrifying, and powerful. It directly enveloped all the vengeful spirits. The originally incomparably powerful vengeful spirit was enveloped by the dragon's breath and directly turned into an endless number of vengeful spirits, disappearing without a trace. Seemingly a little tired, the dragon didn't even want to move. It directly turned into a stream of light and entered the dragon seal space. The small black seal also returned to Long Ao's body. Regarding all of this, whether it was Long Ao or Long Patian, neither of them knew what had happened. After about 6 hours, Long Ao and Long Patian slowly woke up. They looked at each other, then stood up abruptly. You look at me, I look at you, and then look at their surroundings. Both of them were completely stunned. Brother Long, just what happened? I don't know. All the vengeful spirits have disappeared. The two of them looked at the empty tomb and helplessly shrugged. But no matter what, now that the vengeful spirits had disappeared for no reason, they could be considered to have saved their lives. It could be considered a blessing in the midst of misfortune. Brother Long, we should leave this place as soon as possible. Perhaps because he was really scared, Long Patian wanted nothing more than to leave the cave. However, Long Ao waved his hand and said, Brother Patian, all the vengeful spirits have disappeared. Since we're here, why don't we look for it? Long Patian nodded. Since Long Ao had said so, Long Patian wouldn't refuse. Although all the vengeful spirits had disappeared, Long Patian was still very careful. He focused 120% of his attention on looking around. He didn't have the slightest intention to look for the so-called treasure. Long Ao didn't care. After escaping from death, the army of vengeful spirits had finally disappeared. If he missed this opportunity, even he would despise himself. The entire tomb space was filled with tombs at a glance. Longao didn't search blindly because he knew very well that there were strong and weak cultivators in the war back then, so he had to seize the opportunity. If he searched one by one, who knew how long it would take? Until now, Longao didn't know how the army of vengeful spirits disappeared, so he had to leave this place as soon as possible. It was better to be safe than sorry. What if the army of vengeful spirits reappeared? Longao quietly stood in place and quietly released his aura. He sensed all the tombs, one tomb after another. No corpses? He couldn't sense any aura. Longao was very shocked. He was almost certain that under all the tombs, there were no corpses. What was going on? There were spirits but no corpses. Seeing Longao's serious expression, Long Patian was very curious. He walked over and asked, "Brother Long, what happened?" Longao didn't hide anything. He said seriously, "Brother Patian, I just sensed it, so I can confirm that there are no corpses outside these tombs." HM? Hearing this, Long Patian was also shocked. There were no corpses in the tombs? Then what were the vengeful spirits that just appeared? Where did the corpses go? They couldn't have been robbed, right? Long Patian and Longao didn't believe that someone would dare to rob the tombs. What kind of joke was this? The two of them had seen with their own eyes how terrifying the army of vengeful spirits was. How could there be only spirits and no corpses? For some reason, Longao and Long Patian felt that something was wrong with this matter. However, the two of them could not tell what was wrong. "Brother Long, something is wrong. I think we should leave this place." Nodding, Longao didn't want to ask about this. After all, there were no corpses in the tombs. This matter was indeed very strange, but it wasn't something they could deal with. So Longao and Long Patian prepared to leave. "Hehe, since you're here, why are you leaving so quickly? After so many years, I've been so lonely, so lonely." Just as the two of them were about to leave, they suddenly heard a sinister voice. Long Patian said coldly, "Who is sneaking around? Come out if you have the ability." P.S. My friend Xuanhua novel, Demonic God Celestial, a very good novel. Chapter 263. Hee hee hee. A sinister laughter rang out, causing Long Ao and Long Potion's hairs to stand on end. "Who in the world are you? Come out if you've got what it takes. Coward. You want to see me? All right, I'm in a pretty good mood today. I'll come out and see you guys then." Just then, a figure walked out from the depths of the black abyss. He was dressed entirely in black, emitting a sinister aura. When the both of them caught sight of the face of the man in black, both of them screamed out in shock. This man was none other than Huatong, who had just been killed. That's right, it was Huatong. Swallowing his saliva, Long Patian tried his best to suppress the fear in his heart and asked, "Who in the world are you?" Hee. Times have changed. It doesn't matter if you don't know me. But from now on, you guys must remember that my name is Evil. Hee. Yet another sinister laugh. Evil? Looking at the man in black who had appeared out of nowhere, Long Ao and Long Patian were absolutely certain that this man in black was not the Huatong they were talking about. He had just used some secret skill to steal Huatong's corpse. Long Ao and Long Patian were on high alert. They could sense the terror of this man in black, so they were exceptionally wary. "Kid, you're not bad. Whether I'm wrong or not is none of your business." Hee. What an interesting kid. Seeing that you're to my liking, I'll spare your life. But you have to hand over two things. Long Ao did not reply. Who the hell knew what the other party wanted? Did he have to agree to kill himself? "Kid, give me the 9 Netherworld Earth Tiger you've just summoned." F***CK off. I'm not giving you the little fella. Before Evil could even finish, Long Ao had rejected him. What a joke. To think that he would want his little fella. Hee. Without any hint of anger, Evil continued. "Other than the 9 Netherworld Earth Tiger, You have to hand over the dragon seal. Dragon seal? Hearing that the other party actually wanted the dragon seal. Although Longao did not show any expression on his face, he was already extremely shocked. This was because no one knew that he had the dragon seal. Even the people closest to him, his parents, Yin, grandfather, and Aoshua did not know. How did this black-clothed man know? Are you curious as to how I know you have a dragon seal? Longao didn't say anything because he was really curious as to how the black-clothed man knew. He, kid, don't talk nonsense. Hand over the dragon seal and the 9 nether earthworm tiger, and I will let you go. Otherwise, I will let your soul suffer the greatest pain in the world. Longao and Long Potion's expressions were rather ugly. After all, the evil demon before them was far too powerful. Even if they worked together, they wouldn't be a match for it. Don't even think about trying to escape. I can tell you clearly that with your strength, I can capture you at any time. Do you believe me? Believe. Longao and Long Potion did not doubt him at all. However, they did not intend to compromise. This was especially the case for Longao. Be it the little fella or the dragon seal, there was no way he was going to hand them over. The evil demon did not continue speaking. He merely let out a sinister laugh that was so creepy that it was as though they were in the depths of hell. Handing over the little fella and the dragon seal to you is not a problem. Brother Long. Hearing that Longao was really going to hand over the little fella and the dragon seal, Long Potion was shocked. He wanted to say something but was stopped by Longao with a wave of his hand. Evil demon, I'm not a problem with handing them over to you. I'm just asking about your identity. How about we show some sincerity? Sincerity? Hearing Longao's words, the evil demon laughed out coldly as though he had just heard the funniest joke in the world. His face was filled with contempt as he snorted coldly. Kid, what rights do you have? Destroy both jade and stone together. These 4 simple words were enough to express Longao's intentions. Hearing these words, the evil demon's face turned grim. Even though his strength was way above the both of them, if the other party were to choose to destroy both jade and stone together with the 9 netherworld tiger and the dragon seal, wouldn't that mean that all his efforts would be for naught? Even though his face was dark to the extreme, the evil demon did not reject nor agree. He muttered to himself, I don't remember who I am anymore. All I remember is that I am the incarnation of the evil demon. Back in the Great War, I lost to my enemy and fell here. To think that my soul would not dissipate in this place. The evil demon did not continue speaking, nor did he reveal his identity. Perhaps it was because he was reminded of the sad past that the evil demon went silent within his consciousness. Just as he was about to continue speaking, he realized that something was wrong. Raising his head, he realized that the both of them had long disappeared. Without a single bit of anger, the evil demon laughed coldly. I refuse to believe that you guys can escape from my palms. As soon as he finished speaking, the evil demon's figure had already disappeared without a trace. The two of them entered the black passage and did not dare to hesitate. They sped up and rushed outside. In a short while, they had already left the black passage and appeared in the valley. Letting out a long sigh of relief, Long Potion said with lingering fear, What a powerful aura. Brother Long, if I'm not mistaken, this person should be an expert at the peak of the void level. However, his soul was injured. Even if he took over Huatang's body, it wouldn't be easy for him to recover to his peak strength. Nodding, Longao knew very well what the peak of the void level represented. At the 8th level of the void level, the peak was a world emperor. Even if the evil demon's original body was damaged and his soul was injured, it was still not something that the two of them could contend against. Brother Long, what should we do now? If I'm not mistaken, the evil demon won't let this go. We're in big trouble. You guys are indeed in big trouble. Boy, hand over the 9 Serenities, Netherworld Tiger, and the Dragon Seal. Otherwise, I will follow you and kill everyone around you. Looking at the evil demon that suddenly appeared in front of them, Longao and Long Potion were stunned and immediately turned to leave. However, The evil demon did not chase after them. He just stood there with a cold smile. The evil demon was full of confidence. After leaving the valley, Longao and Longpatian had no intention to continue staying in the Scarlet Sky world, let alone continue to participate in the so-called Battle of the Nine States. After all, the evil demon was too powerful. If they continued to stay in the Scarlet Sky world, they would only be controlled by the evil demon. Longao and Longpatian were still a little lucky. After all, the evil demon was sealed in the Scarlet Sky world. If the two of them left and the evil demon could not leave the Scarlet Sky world, then everything would be peaceful. Because of this, Longao and Longpatian shot all the way to the exit. In a short while, they had already arrived in front of the stone gate of the Scarlet Sky world. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.